It is already 2025, and what is in store for crypto this year? Well, it's going to be an effing amazing year. Life-changing for many of you, and I'm excited to talk about it. I asked the real Randy Chavez to join us today just to talk about 2025 and crypto and how there's a 4-year cycle and what things we're looking forward to in 2025. So everyone help me welcome the real Randy Chavez and thank him for joining us. Randy, thank you for being here.
Hello, friendos. Thank you all for being here. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello, Dashi. Happy New Year, brother. It's getting ready to get this bread.
Yes, I'm really excited. I didn't realize when I first got into crypto in 2017 that there was this 4-year pattern. In fact, it wasn't very apparent because there had been only a few cycles. Really, there was the 2012 halving, and a year later in 2013, Bitcoin went absolutely crazy. And then in 2016, there was a Bitcoin halving, and a year later, there ended up being a supply crunch, and crypto, not just Bitcoin, but crypto went crazy. And so that's when I entered this space. It was 2017. I was like, what is going on with Bitcoin's price? It's going crazy and all this other crypto. And I looked deeper and realized that this technology was unlocking some things that the internet couldn't do prior to it, that it was really going to be a big deal. But I didn't understand the cycle. So I invested in 2017, and the money that I invested went from 15,000, like 165,000, all the way down to like 3,000 because, well, I came in halfway through the bull run and didn't understand that it goes crazy. And then it swings back really hard the other way after swinging too far to the upside. But in 2018, I had this thesis that crypto would probably continue this 4-year cycle for 1, 2, maybe even 3 more times. And so that if I use the bear market to invest heavily during the bear market, my thesis was that 2021, we'd experience a massive bull run again. And it played out that way. And 2021 was amazing. It was life-changing for me, having invested everything. And that whole cycle is happening again. Many of the audience members have been around here for the last couple of years, 2022, 2023, 2024, which just wrapped up, preparing for 2025. Pretty exciting. And it's actually pretty easy to see if we show the charts here. This is the Bitcoin Liquid Index, which has the charts that go way, way, way back here to July of 2010. And you can see that Bitcoin's price was hovering way back then around 6 cents. And then it went up in 2011. Now, there was no halving yet. There was a halving here in 2012. In 2013, had this double peak cycle where in earlier, like April, it went up and Bitcoin went all the way up to $274 and people were freaking out. Bitcoin's way too expensive, they thought. And it came back a little bit and then it really ran up in December of 2013 to like $1,200. And the line to buy crypto and Bitcoin at $1,200 was much, much longer and like everyone was trying to buy Bitcoin back then over when it was cheaper. And then it totally crashed all the way down to $200. Then during the bear market, it slowly entered the bull market and built back up, peaking out in 2017. Now, I came in October. So essentially, I came in about right here, midway through the run. Bitcoin was floating around $4,800 when it got started. And it peaked out in December, at least on the Bitcoin side, at almost $20,000. Ooh, that was exciting. And guess what? What goes up does go down again. So it did. Bitcoin crashed all the way down to like 3,200 here. And then it went up and it crashed back down to 3,800 during this bear market. And really, 2021, it went incredible again, having a double peak cycle. First 64,000, what was it? 69? 64,000, then going up to 69,000 a little bit later. And then coming back down into this bear market, and you're just seeing it still coming out in the early bull market, that we haven't had that blow off top yet. But I expect that is set for 2025. Which is where we're at. We just kicked off 2025. What are you looking forward to this year?
The evolution of Bitcoin has been crazy. I remember in 2014, I had the chance to buy this thing called PorcFest. It was a Porcupine Freedom Festival. And back then, like, the only people that had Bitcoin were these like conspiracy free statist people. They were the people that were the doomsday preppers, still have a bunch of cards. Some of those guys are still doing it. And they're like, well, you know, the dollar's going down. This is the end. It's, Federal Reserve has been around for like 100-something years now. And it was their hedge against the dollar. I don't know if any of them ever kept it. If they are, again, they would have been purchasing Bitcoin at the time. It was like $600. As much as you believe, like, okay, Bitcoin is like the real money because there's only a finite amount of it, at some point, you're going to want to take some of that and convert back to dollars, because most people will not sell a house for Bitcoin. Some will. It's going to be hard to find those people, but it's hard. It's hard to know. They have the line in the Pokemon song. It's hard to know which way you're supposed to go. There's so many cryptos out there, so many NFT projects out there. Be advised, guys, you're not alone. When did we go to NFT NYC? 21 or 22? Me and you. I think it was 22.
Yeah, I think that's when we met. I think it's in 22.
So be advised, in 2021, you had kind of the craze take off, and it took off twice. You see OMI go up in early 21, crash way back down to like 0.001, and then take off again late 2021, early 2022. And during that time, if you had an NFT project, you could easily raise a couple $1 million. And these are these like no-name NFT projects that were chasing me and Rain and Dr. Stuff around all weekend, trying to get us to talk about their stuff. But it's not just normal people that buy this. It is big institutions. It is big major corporations that buy it. You had Recur had 2 funding rounds. One was for 5 million, so relatively small, and the other was 50 million. And it's not like they raised $50 million as like an $80 million valuation. No, they raised it at a $333 million valuation. And that goes to show that there is a learning curve to all this. VC people that, if you're here right now listening to me and Rain, and you've been here for a while, you likely know more about the space than 99% of other people or even a lot of people in finance. That they might read charts, they might do whatever, but you had these major VCs going in and raising $50 million for Recur at a third of $1 billion valuation when they had next to no revenue, and they had a couple of IP, but this is a gross misunderstanding of where value comes from, and it's really hard to go and try to interpret this data. Obviously, you have me and Rain that we believe we can do it pretty well, but I'm excited for those same people. A little bit of knowledge is very dangerous. If you're successful in one thing, you think you're going to be successful in another, especially in finance. So when you have these people that say, well, I made my money on, whether it's memes, whether it's Bitcoin, whatever it is, they're going to think that they're geniuses, and they're going to buy into these things at an insanely overvaluated price. And that's where we're going to be selling. So that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited for a bunch of these mega whales with hundreds of millions of dollars, throwing tens of millions into random projects, making those God candles, absolutely pumping it for us. And then us riding that wave, selling a little bit along the way. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, 2025 should be harvest year, right? So look, I love the I love the saying "make it rain." In a lot of history, human history, really wealth was created through farming in one way or another, right? Because like you could chase down or try to hunt, and you could gather and pick berries, or you could actually learn how soil worked, and you could cultivate farms. And that actually created some of the first empires, right? As they got good at agriculture and irrigation so that they could farm. And it created wealth. But as a farmer, you had to learn when the cycles were. You had to know when to plant your crops. And you had to plant early spring in order to be able to harvest later spring and summer. And so there was these cycles. Now with farming, there was a year-long cycle. With crypto, there's a 4-year cycle. So you have the crypto winter, and you have what they call, crypto spring and crypto summer. Or you could just oversimplify it to a bull market and a bear market. So we've been in a bear market for a couple of years, and we're in the early part of the bull market, but not the juicy part, because the final part of the bull market is what Raoul Pal calls the banana zone, because the chart looks kind of like a banana where it just goes absolutely parabolic. And that's the part I'm looking forward to, and that will most likely happen this year. A lot of people in this space, they say, well, tell me exactly what it's going to do. A lot of it is we're just actually playing odds, in that it's not even proven that it's going to go crazy in 2025, but the odds are extremely high that it will. And I like the odds that it will better than any other market out there across the whole world. And so that's why after about 2 years in crypto, or 2020, I started to liquidate all my real estate holdings and other things and went all in on crypto, because this 4-year cycle is as predictable as any cycle out there, more predictable in my opinion, as well as the volatility is so amazing. Like, the pendulum swings too far each way, so prices go too high in the banana zone, and then they swing back to too low during the bear market. And so it's those swings in volatility that create absolute wealth if you're buying low and selling high. And I say if, because you want to know how most people play this. They buy high, hoping it goes higher, and end up selling low.
We were just talking to someone that said, like, if you get us, if this does a 3x, we'll put a lot more into this project. And it's like, I mean, then you wouldn't be able to get 100x out of something that just did a 3x. I mean, you might be able to, but the odds of that are just much lower, and the expectations, it gets really hard to explain that to people.
And what's funny is they don't really understand when it does go parabolic, how fast it goes parabolic. And so sometimes you don't even have a chance to take profits at 3x, because all of a sudden 2 weeks passed and it went 50x. And it's like, oh, it's time to harvest some. There's no chance to put more money in. And once it's already gone 50x, that is a terrible time to be putting more money in. Why? It's not going to do another 50x from there. That's just not going to happen. If you're lucky, it does another 2 or 3 or 4x from there. But imagine it does a 4x from there. That means the initial investment could have made a 200x. And yet by coming in late in the phase with funds, you only got a 4x, and you were lucky to get it from there. So it's like the time to really be investing is, the best time to be investing was last year. The second best time is right now. Not a very good time is after things have already really started to go parabolic. But that's when belief is really high from everyone. Once they can look at the recent history and see that things already went 20 or 30x, and they make the failed assumption that that's going to continue for forever. And it's not. And it's going to reverse really hard at a certain point. And it usually doesn't take too long from when it goes massively parabolic to savagely reverse.
So that's one of those things that, since you just said that, I'll bring this up. Deie, obviously the best, I got a bid at 30 cents, and it got cut in half, and I got a bid at 15 cents. And then it kept going lower. And if you were super lucky to get it in at 12 cents, that's like a 8x from there. So it's already done an 8x. Is it over for Deie? Is it too late to get in? Is that something that, it already did an 8x? Maybe it could do another 8x. What are your thoughts on it?
I think Deie could be worth hundreds of dollars, and right now it's floating around $1. It looks like the chart wants to break to the upside from here, like really bad. It keeps coming back to this dollar mark, and it wants to break through it really bad. The odds are really good that it breaks to the upside from here, but there is a small chance it could break to the downside. They do have a really big announcement coming out sometime soon. Soon said like 10 days ago, so What does soon mean? Hopefully in January is what it means. I figured they didn't mean December, so here we are in January. I'd love to hear exactly what that announcement is and what's made in that announcement. And supposedly it's a really big, world-renowned exchange that's doing a partnership with them. So what does a partnership entail? Well, I'd have to read the finer details to know for sure. And what would a really big exchange be? Well, I think, okay, so it's not a crypto exchange. It's not like Coinbase. But the hint is it's bigger than Coinbase. So what is it? Maybe Robinhood, or maybe bigger than Robinhood? I don't know. So we'll see what that announcement is. But what is cool is this. I had an interview with Tom Anderson, the CEO that created Devio's blockchain and created Deie, and created the sharding algorithm that allows them to have 8 million transactions per second. And he was telling me about some of the problems it solves, and really that their blockchain is built for enterprises. Now that the whole world has gone on this idea of we need to tokenize all these assets, really that is enterprise blockchain that is best suited to tokenize all these assets of the world. And as far as I know, really that would put Hedera, Hashgraph, and Deie in position to be probably the best options for that. So not always the best options are used, but we'll see how this comes together. If that exchange is big enough, one of the challenges Deie has is that it can do so many transactions per second. People ask themselves the question, if it's really as fast as you say it is, and all these good things that you say it is, then like, where are the big partnerships? Like why isn't somebody else saying this about you? And so at first, when you're just growing awareness, at first it's kind of like, oh yeah, you say you can do all these things. What kind of legitimacy do you have behind you? And they have been audited by Accenture's blockchain group, who they did a partnership with a Fortune 50 company, one of the largest insurance companies in the world. And they did a thing with them. And so that company sent Accenture's blockchain group to audit them and make sure they could do what they said they could do. And Accenture gave them a thumbs up. And that's a big deal. So there's some credibility there already. But if this exchange announcement is a big deal and a highly credible exchange, that might get other companies to really take a look at them and be like, oh, well, let's look deeper at this. I think if they look deeper, they're going to see, holy shit, why were we trying to build on Avalanche, or why were we trying to build on this when this has much better solutions?
Yeah.
And if that happens, then that could cascade into them getting way, way, way more things building on them, and way, way more contracts, and hit awareness. Most of the crypto space is completely unaware of them outside of my audience and a few audiences. And that awareness is growing, which is fun to see. And they have a really good spokesperson these days that's helped growing that awareness. But still, most of crypto space, if you mention Deie, they haven't heard of it yet. And that was once the case for OMI. That was once the case for Axie Infinity. That was once the case for Uniswap. Most of the crypto space was completely unaware of what Uniswap was and what it would do. And it was around for 2 years before anyone knew what it was.
We had a we've had a conversation with not only Tom Anderson. I think we both had him. I think you've had him on a couple times, but the CTO as well, who's he's like a shark. I'm very happy he's on our side. I'm very happy he's on the side of Deie, going and negotiating. Those bags are packed, I think, for a couple of us. But I'm glad to see you say that even though it's already done 7-8x from the bottom, it is still likely to go higher. That is good to hear. On the other ends of this, there's a couple of things that, let's say something like Flow. Was kicked out of the top 100 because it is something that it just, other stuff, which is weird, like Brett's up there. But that's something that's already got a $1 billion market cap. Actually, has 1.1 billion in market cap. That's things that you're talking about, things doing like 100x. Probably not in it for Flow, right? Obviously, Flow can get some great gains, but if you're already at $1 billion market cap, it's already pretty big. What does Flow do that can take it to its potential.
Yeah. So right now, one of the advantages Flow has, or for investors, one of the things I like about Flow, like when I have people ask me, they're not crypto people, and they're like, "Oh, what should I get into?" I'm like, "I don't know what you should get into." If I did know crypto, but didn't really know it and was just coming in, but had all the knowledge I had now, what would I tell myself to buy? Flow. Why? Because you can get a Coinbase account pretty easily, and you can buy Flow right on your Coinbase account. And then I would just sit and wait till it goes at 10, 20, 30x from here. And for most people, that's incredible gains. Incredible. And do I think Flow will do that? Probably. Why? Flow is the token associated with NBA Top Shots, NFL All Day, UFC Strike, and they have a really cool product. And people who watch those sports, whether it's the NBA or the NFL or the UFC, when they see that, they love the product. They love the video moment. So it's like sports cards, but the actual video moment of like epic moments. So for football players, sometimes it's an epic catch or an epic touchdown. For a basketball player, it might be an epic dunk. Like I have a LeBron James when he did this Kobe Bryant dunk. And I saw, I got into NBA Top Shots in 2020. I think it was like October 2020 or September. And I put about $1,100 in. The coming bull run, I saw it go to $185,000, the $1,100 I put in. I was like, holy cow, this idea of digital collectibles in these special moments can really go parabolic. So NFL All Day and UFC Strike came out during the bear market, so they haven't experienced those big gains. But I think as the awareness shifts back to Bitcoin and crypto and then digital collectibles, which is part usually that has its own run too, when it goes, the focus becomes on that, then Flow takes off. And Flow does probably incredible numbers. So incredible, like 20 or 30x gains, maybe higher than that, but they're already at $1 billion market cap. So I don't know exactly how high it can go. So when I say 20 or 30x gains, it probably go at least that high.
Shout out to everyone in the comments here, everyone giving us the flowers and the peace signs. I like Chris Ashby's comment saying, how do you keep your cool when you've made more money than you've ever had? You take a walk, you drink a beer. How PG-13, how are we getting over here?
Whatever you want to say.
I mean, this is, I mean, when I first happened to me, when OMI goes up, nothing really changed for me because I just viewed it as, okay, well, it's just $100,000, but you just add a zero to it and just kind of live your life that way. Just for me, it makes it easier. Just, okay, everything that you do now, just add a zero to everything. But there's some people that are, I've heard this saying, like, if you win the lotto, take care of yourself. Guys, like, go in and rub one out, because you can't, the same way you don't want to go grocery shopping when you're hungry, you don't want to make these crazy financial decisions with a pent up limbic system. You want to have everything nice and relaxed, because a lot of things that we do, like why do parents get braces for their kids? Because they know eventually they're going to want grandkids, and nobody is going to want to go in and be with their child if they have some messed up teeth. They're going to like that's it. You don't want to make a bunch of these decisions while you have the pent up energy and that pent up whatever. So that might be one thing. Talk to somebody who's.
I would say, like, one of the challenges with crypto is that it's not really income. So some of what I saw in 2021 is that there were some young kids that got lucky and they bought Bored Ape NFTs, for like $80, and maybe they bought like 5 of them, and they later end up being like worth $300,000+. And so you would have a little 20-year-old running around cashing out $1.5 million, but they'd never had that kind of money. And what's funny with $1.5 million is they didn't know how to use it. So they were at the strip club giving the strippers $100 bills, and living up the life for like 6 months to a year. And then they were broke. They had nothing. And then, the tax man wanted their money. And it's like, oh, I forgot about that. Wait, I have to pay taxes on this? It's like, yeah. And so the challenge is you don't have income. Even when you create good money, that doesn't create income for you. So you either keep your day job and let the assets continue to grow, or you take some of those assets and you put them into things that are going to provide income for you. Because one of the things I'm like, really, the way you really retire yourself is when your passive assets provide more income than what you can spend or are spending per month. So when I was in my 20s, I bought that game from Robert Kiyosaki called Cash Flow. And you can get different jobs. Like, at the beginning, you draw from the cards that have your jobs and say what your salary is and what your expenses are. And you're like, oh, I'm an airplane pilot. That's awesome. They have really good income. But then you realize the expenses are really high. And in order to get out of the rat race, you have to make enough passive income that then exceeds your expenses. And then there are certain metrics to win the game. But it helped me think this, like, okay, in life, you got to think about passive income. So crypto, what's amazing is the kind of gains you can have here exceed anything else I can think of. It's really just early stage business investing. As Sleepin was saying, it's in many cases pre-revenue venture capital investing, which is just early stage investing. So here it is. Pre-revenue venture capital is crazy, but when it goes big, they can make big bucks. So when I was at the university, I was studying business, and I took this entrepreneurship class, and there was these 3 guys that were retired, that were very wealthy, that taught the class for free. And they were able to teach it for free without having like PhDs and stuff, because they were donating their time for free. And it was only a 1 credit hour class. But they would come in and they would talk about angel investing or venture capital investing or early stage business investing. And they invested in tech startups and other things. And the way they looked at it is, we're going to invest in, say, 10 different projects. And of those 10 different projects, maybe 1 goes really, really big, and maybe 2 or 3 do pretty well. And probably 6 or 7 of those go out of business entirely and fail. And we lose 100% of what we put in those 6 or 7. But then the other ones make so much, it makes up for it. So about every 7 years, they would, get maybe a 10x return if they were really, really lucky. So I was like, wow, every 7 years they could get a 10x return. Well, crypto has this really weird thing. Really, you're just early stage business investing if you're doing it right. And I consider doing it right, staying away from the meme coins. Some people are like, yes, there's about 10 examples of meme coins that went absolutely, absolutely parabolic. And there's about 70,000 meme coin projects out there. And so your percentages of success are just way, way, way too low. What I look at is, okay, what are the Web3 companies that are doing something substantive that, if they get enough traction with this, and they use their money that they raise wisely, can really, really change things and have this go really big. But what I like about the crypto space is, on regular businesses, you can only exit mostly when the company goes public, which might be 7 years away, it might be 10 years away, it might even be 12 years away. So you have this really long window of when you could possibly get your money back out, and you're hoping the company survives all the way to that standpoint before you can really exit. Well, in crypto, we have a token that's sometimes liquid right away when we buy it. So we can exit right away if we want, which can be good or can be bad. Secondly, we don't have to wait till the business does an IPO. We just have to wait this 4-year cycle. And so if we're buying during the bear market, we might be buying in, say, 2022 or 2023. And we're really just waiting until 2025. And then we can exit. So we don't have to wait 10 years or 12 years down the road. And if you're doing well, you can vastly outperform a 10x. You can get a 70x average or a 30x average, which is just unattainable in most venture capital investing. You'd have to hit the right investments like 50% of the time to have them become like, wow, amazing businesses to get those kind of returns. And in crypto, you just, I mean, I was pretty new still to crypto in my first bear market, which was 2018 through 2020. And 65% of what I invested in pretty much went to zero. The remaining 35% did exceptional, which took my portfolio from the bottom to the top, 100x gains. And from what I'd put in, because what I put in during the bear market went down and down, because that's how bear markets often go. From what I'd put in, I still made 20x returns, essentially over a 2 to 2.5 year time frame. And I wasn't even very good yet. And I made a lot of mistakes. I invested in things like meme coins that I didn't really know what meme coins were back then. I didn't know the probabilities were so bad. So I was just new. So I'm excited to see what this is going to turn out to be. I have focused on this last bear market, on the percentage of my portfolio. What are the commonalities of the ones that did exceptionally well and survived, and focused and targeted those types of projects this bear market. So really excited to see what 2025 holds.
Before, just a comparison, before I got into crypto and I was doing stocks, in conjunction with that, I was also doing Pokemon. I love Pokemon so much. I have it tattooed on my body. I've loved it since it came out, past 30 years. And I no longer have any Pokemon cards. Why? Because even though I don't just think that they're a great ROI for certain cards on investment. I genuinely love them. I've spent 40,000 of my entire life, 40,000 hours doing Pokemon related things. I like the stuff that we have on VeVe. Spend some money on it. I like the stuff that Definity's doing and OMI's doing. I like it. I'm not in love with the IP. I'm in love with the fact that they can make a very nice amount of return. So to sell all of my cards, like my childhood possessions, the stuff that I spent so much money on, made so much money on, to sell out of those and to go into something that I like, it's because it's going to make me a lot of money. So I think, obviously, like I said, none of this is financial advice, but to go out of something that I'm so thoroughly passionate about, I know I've forgotten more about it than most people ever know, into something that is fun and it's exciting. But again, the IP is great. I love my Luke Chew Ghost Bears. I love my Alligator Lokis. They're fine. I will never love anything as much as Pokemon. And for me to go and do that, to come over here, the reason is because we can make more money here. Now with some of the profits, I'll go back and I'll get some Pokemon cards, and then maybe sell them again for the next bear market. But I just want you guys to know where I'm coming from.
Well, so for you to sell all your Pokemon cards and go into your probably overall thesis is probably similar to mine, in that digital collectibles are the future. Most people haven't realized it yet. And so most collectors aren't collecting digital yet. They're unaware of them. They haven't really thought about them. They haven't noticed it. Just like there was a point in time where the internet was out there, but most people weren't using it. Email was out there, but most people didn't know what email was. But as they got a hold of it and started incorporating in their life, they started transitioning most of their communications to be through email. And so there's still tons of physical collectors out there, tons that don't really know what digital collectibles is. But what's funny is, as crypto goes crazy, this digital awareness goes crazy too. And so then digital collectibles tend to pump. This is what happened with NBA Top Shots. And as they pumped, the awareness grew tremendously, and massive amounts of money were thrown in there, which created even more collectors. And it had one small awareness boom in 2021 already. And I think we're going to go through that next cycle of 2025. And I agree with the thesis that digital collectibles in many ways are superior to physical collectibles, because you have access to an instantaneous marketplace where you can put on the market and it can sell literally a few seconds later to somebody across the world for a negligible market fee. And you don't have to ship it to them. They know that what they're buying is legitimate. wow, that's so easy compared to what it is to sell a physical collectible. Secondly, you don't have to store digital collectibles in a room in your house. And I had a friend that had a room in his house for his physical collectibles, and that room was completely full. And then it was starting to spill over into his master bedroom, which every day made his wife unhappy. And he was limited. He couldn't buy anything new without selling anything else, but he was a collector. He just loved like having more things. And so digital solves that. So you can have your stuff created, linked to your account. You don't have to worry about it taking up your whole house to store things anymore. And so as more and more people realize that, and more people can tie their digital collectibles to their social media accounts, I think digital collecting goes huge. And that some of these early digital collectibles, like what VeVe's been doing, become a huge social flex for those that get into space and they want to show how wealthy they are. They come in and throw money to bid up some items that are really important to them. And you see some of the early VeVe collectibles go crazy in that type of environment.
There's also two ways to onboard these people. The one way is the people that get it. Digital collecting, for many people, it clicks right away. But for others that are a little slower to it, they're like, well, I still like having a comic book in my hands, or I still like having something in my hands. They have some really cool partnerships. One of them was with Funko, where you got the physical and then you got the digital as a bonus. Or if you like the digital, you get the physical as a bonus. It doesn't really matter. And then they had Figpin with KFC, and then they had the VeVe logo stuff. So they do have that bridge. They have the fast way where people just get it, but then they also have the other way. We get that not everyone's going to be on it right away. So for the people that want to get something physical, even though they're getting the digital as well, they have that already. They'll be having more with Figpin. They'll be having more with, I don't know if I have more Funko, but they will definitely be having more with Figpin. So that's just one of the other ways that they can get on board. Like Phygital is a great tool that they can use to onboard those people quicker, where they might not have gotten to digital collecting for a couple of years, but if they have a Phygital, then it's like, okay, I can do this now. And again, that slowly but surely gets them. So I like that. Go over a couple of these comments.
Yeah. What's funny is I had never bought a comic before till I had bought VeVe's digital comics, and that got me interested that I bought some physical ones. So for my journey, like I had a few physical collectibles. Like I collected some Star Wars Legos because my friend showed me how well they appreciate for collectibles out there. They're some of the highest appreciating collectibles. And that was fascinating to me because they'd go up in value. But the problem is storage space, right? So every time you moved, you had to like move them, and you try not to bang up the boxes and stuff. And physical collectibles are just a pain. But what's funny is most of my collectibles now are all digital, like mostly on VeVe, but also some NFL All Day and UFC Strike and some other platforms. And I have very few physical collectibles, but the VeVe journey really got me involved in some physical collectibles again.
Speaking of comics, they have these. I wish I knew, or I wish we all knew how much they're making with VeVe Comics. You can go on every Wednesday. They have these new drops. So yesterday, they had a couple new ones. One of which was Powerpuff Girls. So of course I had to get that, and it's okay. I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I read it. But they have these new ones all the time, and some of them are like really good. Like the Aliens vs. Avengers one was absolutely incredible. They have some of these new characters with Spider-Boy. But those ones we can track. Those ones we know, okay, they're making like 10,000 a week, give or take with those. But there's these digital versions that we can't track because they're unlimited. The ones that we get on the VeVe app, they're 1 of 1,000. But the ones that are over on unlimited, we have no idea how much they're making off of that. And they are making money off of it. So I'm very curious to see how that continues to grow, because it is called VeVe Comics, not just Marvel. Like I said, I just showed you Powerpuff Girls. They have Sanity. They have 24/7 comics.
Looks like my
You're frozen. Rain's experience. As Rain gets his groove back, we'll go over some of the news, shall we? Let's see. Over the last couple days, you have had
2025 or late 2025. Do you have any opinions?
I just heard late 2025 because you were frozen for you were frozen for like 30 seconds. So all I heard was late 2025 in opinions. What was the beginning of that? Oh, he's still frozen. Maybe he's talking about a comment. I do not see any comments that are related to 2025. So while Rain fixes the stuff, we do have an announcement from VeVe saying that Return of Wolverine 2018 is number 1. 5 variant covers that has been announced by VeVe. That is going to be on Tuesday, so that'll be a few days away. Outside of that, there's wiring instructions. I would love to see the Minnesota Vikings had a celebration the other day where they celebrated a touchdown by doing the dance from High School Musical. I really want VeVe to get some of these collectibles that can dance, and then we could do the dance with them. I think that would be really fun. Comment down below who do you want to see. Claire Griffin goes off and says 2025 is the year that we want to grow women x VeVe. I know that's kind of like a boys club up here. I swear I get as much women as I can to stream because it's a lot of times it's intimidating. Like I distinctly remember back when I was training people for boxing, like women would come into the gym, they'd see these two guys just absolutely going at it, beating each other up, blood's in the ring, and like I can't do this. So I get it. It's kind of intimidating when we see a lot of guys, but the women x VeVe are growing. Say they would love if any women in our community would be willing to do a collector spotlight. Claire Griffin says, I was so nervous to do one, but I do know the support we get from VeVe, and the community makes it a great way for people to get to know us more as women in the VeVe community. You can either reach out to Women X VeVe Twitter, or you can message me directly. And I was talking about Claire. Do not message me about that. But Ben Rose had retweeted saying, could not agree more. He also says that there's an amazing recap from Vibesman at New York Comic Con 2024. It's 27 minutes, so it's a video, but it's pretty good. I've watched like 12 minutes of it. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. It's been very busy, but it's really fun. In case you missed it, that's a chance to live vicariously through us. That was really exciting. A couple pictures of me in there when I was a much younger man 2 months ago. Oh, Josh Emmett. So that's one of the other things that we get to do. Like a lot of times I really talk about the gold logo and the amazing things that you could do. You could really talk to Dave and Dan at like an intimate level. You can have people like Josh Emmett there, but this was at like the random VeVe party it wasn't random. It was at the VeVe party that they had. There's people that go out to party. Like, again, you don't necessarily need that gold logo to meet some of these people. You never know who's going to show up there. We had Spider-Man go up. That was like $3,000 like a month ago, right? There was a couple of sales for $6,000. Let's take a look at what it is now while Rain get back to his stuff. So if you go and search Spider-Man over on VeVe, you're going to have to hit the collectibles button, or else you're going to get a bunch of comics. And even if you just do collectibles, you are going to have to scroll a little bit, just because there's a lot. There's a lot of Spider-Man we have, and I have most of them. But now if you go to the lowest price, it's $59.98.91. So it has done a pretty nice run up. This did get up to 100,000 last time. That was the floor price. I only think the confirmed sale is like 80. I don't think we had any above that. There might have been one for 80 or more, and I just don't know about it. But I think 80 was the last highest confirmed sale for last time. Does that get like that this time? We're not sure. We'll keep. Let me go to some of the comments here, because it's been a minute. All right, let's go back. We won't go back to the beginning. Wegs Y says, can you guys discuss if OMI is a security? I don't believe so. I don't believe it hits any of those prongs of the Howey test. It's going to be open up to interpretation, but I think the SEC will likely go in and not go after OMI, because I don't think it does anything. Also, I don't even know if crypto is going to really be under the SEC, or it'll be under the CFTC. We're going to have to wait for what Trump does. Rain, you're back.
Internet's an amazing thing that often works and sometimes doesn't.
People really impress me. Like we know how to use the internet. We know how to get like a router and a modem, but you give me immortality and wipe humans off the earth, and like, how long is it going to take me to figure out how internet works? I don't think I'd ever be able to figure it out. I don't know how long it would take me to send an email. I could live that 1,000 years and probably never figure it out. People are awesome. Inventions are great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how technology builds on each other. But if like civilization were wiped out, having to rebuild everything, yeah, I don't know. Most people are building off of blueprints and other things that they have, and they order parts from some other place. So like that would mess everything up. So hopefully no thermonuclear wars across the whole world. Short of that, I think we're okay. So now we were talking about 2025, and a lot of people want to know how this bull run will play out. Will it be early 2025 that we have this parabolic move? Will it be late? Will it be both? That it goes up like crazy and then pauses or comes back for a bit, like that happened in 2021. We had a March blow off top, then it came back down through July, and then it really ran hard in late October. What are your thoughts?
Thoughts of what on late October? Sorry, I just paid attention to Coolmo. He said, Randy, check the Spider-Man Noir price, and it's $6,900. Damn. 6,900 is, and then once that goes up, it goes to 13,000. That's insane. Sorry, what was the question? I was being a little rude.
Yeah, how is 2025 going to play out? Do you think crypto goes parabolic early, like February, March, or do you think it's later in the year?
I would say it's a weird cycle because you had normally something like Uptober has been a nickname for October for a reason, because typically crypto tends to go up in October. It laid absolutely flat. Nothing was going on this October. Well, why? Well, there was going to be likely a big difference if Kamala got elected or if Trump got elected. But people were kind of worried. Nothing was going on. Then as November 5th kind of came and went, I feel like, okay, Trump, then all of that growth from the last couple months, because usually I think it's 6 months after the halving, that's kind of when stuff tends to run. Nothing really happened up until it was confirmed that you would have a person in there that's going to be very friendly to crypto. And I'll just say that like that. Then all that growth kind of got squeezed into like 3 weeks. And then normally the first week of December is usually kind of down. We didn't really have that until mid-December. Then we had a big downturn. I think Bitcoin went from like 108. It went down to like 91.8. It had a big swing there. And then you usually have a Santa rally, which we didn't really get. So I don't know if people are, so it's similar. It's just different. Every bull market is different. But once Trump gets in, and then 2 weeks later, do we start to run again? Does he have to sign something? And how does it happen? Does it have to be an executive order? Have to be something in a bill that passes? We're not sure how it's going to go down, but what I can tell you is that one of my very powerful friends on the left is making sure that crypto is not just a Republican thing, that all politicians, like on the left side, because Democrats don't want Republicans to like just have crypto, because then anyone that's into crypto is automatically going to be a Republican. They want it to be both parties, and it's an all hands on deck thing where if they want the votes, that politician might not care one way or the other. So as people start to vote that way, like, oh, wow, the Republican bill, but a lot of Democrats are voting for it. As people start to see that and they get more bullish on crypto, some people say that the banana zone, or not the banana zone, the super cycle, which again, up to now is purely theoretical, hasn't happened yet. Like Rain, you think that's going to be like not necessarily going the bull market for 4 years instead of 2 years. It'll just all be wrapped into this one bull cycle that'll still say that 13 months, 15 months.
I think to prolong it, right? Make it a little bit longer. It'll be maybe 6 months or 8 months longer than it is if it has a super cycle. And what a super cycle really is, I mean, let me go back to sharing this chart because this will share what a super cycle would look like. So Bitcoin has followed this trend, like diminishing returns over time, right? So that's why you see the trend curving downwards like this. And really for it to super cycle, it'd have to break this trend. So later, if it happens later in 2025 and we're to break above 180,000, then technically we would be breaking this trend and we would be in a super cycle. And if it breaks that, it probably breaks it like if it solidly breaks, it'll probably break it by a lot. So Bitcoin might go to 300, 400, 500, 600,000. And if it does, like people say, oh, what will that happen? I'm still under the belief that like the pendulum swings too far to each way. So if it swings too far to the upside, at some point it'll come crashing back down to the downside. Will it break this? We'll have to see how it plays out. I hope so. That would be great. I took all my gains from 2021 and I rolled everything back into crypto during the bear market. So I'm fully deployed into crypto. And if it goes absolutely, absolutely crazy, that would be amazing. But I don't know whether it'd be a super cycle. And I don't know whether it seems like there's a lot of momentum that wants to really swing to the upside, maybe even as soon as January, mid-January or late January, February, March. Now, is that the blow off top from the peak? I don't know. We'll have to see how high it goes. Could it then correct downwards and then have a bigger pump later that year? It could. It could. But if it goes absolutely nuts January, February, March, I will be taking some profits and setting it to the side completely.
Yeah. So to finish the answer, I mean, you have in general the bull market. Charles Hoskinson goes off and says that he's never really made a prediction outside of last month, where he said that the Bitcoin price within 2 years would be 250,000 to 500,000. And let's just say he's right. Let's assume that he's correct, but consider at the bottom half, let's say 250K. That's a 2.5x here from Bitcoin, and that's rounding up because Bitcoin's at like 90, 94 now. Oh, it's back up to 96. Very good. Good day for Bitcoin, up to 2.5%. But figure that's a 2.5x from here. Suddenly that market cap goes from, it's almost 2 trillion, but that goes to 4.5 trillion just in Bitcoin. Like the entire crypto market cap is 3.5 trillion right now. So that 4.5 just in Bitcoin, dude, the top 100, it's likely that you could probably have $5 billion market cap, be nowhere near the top 100. That top 100 could be 7 or 10 billion. So what does that do for alts? Well, you have profit taking from that, then alts will go nuts. But then you also have more rate cuts that we're getting in 2025. It's possible you have this market melt up. You have all of these people that are in these hedge funds and are in these institutions that want to buy. You have companies like Definity that's gone through all the legal legwork to make it easier for these institutions to buy. This could go absolutely insane, where you could have a company like, let's say Definity, it's like at $7 million market cap. You could have them do a 1,000x and not be anywhere near the top 100. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that's going to happen. It's just a possibility that's out there. You could have something like OMI. What's that market cap? Like 100 million, give or take. You could have it, as I do a 100x and not be in the top 100. And I think it definitely goes in the top 100. So that's kind of my thinking. Now, obviously, not everything runs at once, and here's where the beauty of that is. I do think it's either going to be AI or NFTs that's going to be the next one, because those are the ones that everyone's talking about now. Memes have kind of had its day, and that might continue for the next few weeks or the next month. Or you might have this cycle where, well, memes can continue to run while NFTs start to run or AI starts to run. But then, well, what about DeFi? What about gaming? What about decentralized science? What about all those? Like, that could happen as well. Like, that could happen later. So you could take your gains, let's say OMI does like a 20x before anything else runs. I'm not going to sell all of my OMI at a 20x, but I'll sell a good amount of it, and I'll put into something that hasn't run yet. And if whatever I put it into, if that does a 20x, well, suddenly that's a 400x. So you don't need any one thing to do a 400x. You can get that just doing a 20 and a 20. Obviously, that's easier said than done, but these types of gains could be. I don't know if next bear market Bitcoin goes down 80% like it has. I don't know if alts go down 99% like they have. Maybe Bitcoin only goes down 40% and alts go down 80%. And maybe there's not this opportunity next time. There still might be, who knows, but it's just, we don't know.
I think especially if there's a super cycle, because just the psychology of human behavior is like, when does people want to come in and put tons of money into it? When it's late in the cycle and when the gains have been so astronomical. So say the average altcoin goes 40x. Well, that's when everyone wants to throw money in because they're assuming that, well, it's already gone 40x. Maybe I'll do another 40x from here. And that's just not going to happen. But they think it is more likely to happen because it just recently did that. And they're just wrong on that. What it is more likely to do is to pull back severely and savagely on them. So people are most willing to throw all kinds of money into crypto at its most dangerous point. And they're least willing to throw all kinds of money into it at its actual juiciest point when prices are severely low. I mean, one of the projects Randy and I are severely interested in, we love to death, is Ecomi and their token OMI. Well, the comments are just absolutely savage on it while it's near its bottoms for the cycle. And that's when the price is the juiciest. When will we hear almost no negative comments on it? Well, when it goes 30x from here or 40x from here, you know, everyone will be like, yeah, it's going to keep going up forever. It's not going to go up for forever. But we'll hear almost no negative comments on it. And it's weird. That's when people will be wanting to mortgage their house and throw $300,000 into it after it's already gone like 30x. And they're actually entering at a really dangerous point because what does go up will come down. And so that's why so many people don't make money in crypto. Like, even though this is the most amazing opportunity of our lives, they play it all wrong. And so, like a lot of people in the bear markets, they like to argue with me that it's not unique to this bear market. Last bear market, people told me Axie Infinity was terrible and dumb, and the founders made all these mistakes, and they were a bunch of uneducated kids trying to make a blockchain game, and they weren't uneducated; they were young, and it looked like it was going to fail a couple times. And Axie Infinity went 3,000x from where I bought at, and that wasn't even the bottom. You know, they said Cardano was Cardaleno and Cardano would never make it. Their test net would never go live. Their main net would never go live. They'd never be a real chain. And yeah, they did. And so where did everyone want to argue with me about, oh, you know, when I was buying low and they were telling me I was stupid for buying low? This cycle, what do they like to argue with me about? Ecomi. They're like, oh, OMI's a dead token. They're not even close to being right there. They don't even know what they're talking about. It's far from dead. The underlying company, VeVe, is doing tremendously well with an amazing, amazing product with top licenses, and they continue to thrive, whereas most of their competitors have flatly went out of business. And VeVe's doing, like, would they like to be doing better? Yes, but they have more revenues coming in than most blockchain businesses across the whole of the crypto space. And yet I'm supposed to believe somehow their token is dead because the prices are really cheap. No, I mean, it went 3,000x in the last bull market. Like I told you, what goes up? The pendulum swings too far to the upside, it will swing too far to the downside. And it's way too far to the downside. And all these people think that's a bad thing. They think because it has been going down for 3 years, it's going to go down for forever. And they're just flatly wrong. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Yeah, they come into this space, and just because they have a Twitter account or a YouTube account, they think, you know, they're making intelligent arguments, and they're making the exact same arguments that every fudder made every cycle that ended up being massively wrong. Like my friend Big A, and here that I love playing off the grid with, really cool guy, and he's been very successful in real estate investment. He bought Bitcoin really early, and one of his friends talked him into getting out of it because his friend was scared about this risky thing, and it's so risky. And his friend, who seemed like he knew what the hell he was talking about, was just flatly wrong. And so, you know, there's a lot of people like that. They tend to jump in here in the comments and act like they know what they're talking about. It's like, wait, how long have you lived outside your mom's basement? Oh, you still live there? Got it.
Yeah, be careful who you're talking to, or be careful who you get info from. I'm not going to say be careful. I mean, definitely be careful who you listen to, but take a look at who they're surrounded by. Are they surrounded by people that are successful, or are they surrounded by people that are doxxed? Like they have successful business. Like you can have people say, oh, I know this person from this crypto project, you know, they're big in it. Like, okay, what's their name? Well, they go by this. They don't actually, like, to me, that's a big red flag. And I'm not saying that just because of, you know, there's a project where the owner's not doxxed automatically means it's a scam. No, that I'm going to say a decent amount of the time it throws up a red flag. But see, like, what do they do? Like, what problems do they solve? Like we went through before about Deie. What do they solve? OMI, Definity. Like what do they solve? If you have something that is just again, those PFP projects that came around trying to get us to cover them, like, what did they do? They had these pixelated pictures of animals. Now, obviously, the space is evolving. Now you need to have a little bit of utility. You need to have like whatever. You have these partnerships. So it's not just that anymore. But still, like, are these people doing something productive with their time? Like I don't know. I can't think of a time where I'm going to go into a project or anywhere where I'm just going to make an account and keep up with it just to continuously talk trash about it. I don't think I know any other successful person that does that.
No, like in the fudders, right? They really don't usually have much financial education and more background. And sometimes people just move their investments from one to another, but they talk differently about it, and they're like more informed conversation. One of the challenges with crypto is anybody can get in and everyone has a voice. And the only challenge with that is when new people come in, they assume everyone that has a voice knows what they're talking about. And that's not the case. It's not even the case that everyone with a YouTube channel is good at this. Sometimes those with really, really large YouTube channels, they're not even good investors at all. They make great revenues from their YouTube channel and the sponsorships and all the things they get paid to cover. And that makes them wealthy. So they even show some signs of wealth, but the wealth isn't from their own investments. Their wealth is from their YouTube revenues and sponsorship revenues. So one of the challenges in the space is who to listen to. And the truth is, I hope each of you is growing your own knowledge so you're listening to yourself, right? One of the goals of my channel is to help create educated, savage crypto investors so that you're 100% thinking for yourself. So that because at some point, I'm definitely not going to be making videos on crypto. I'm going to be out enjoying the world and spending money, and I'll have a lot of passive income, as well as some investments, like continuing to let grow in crypto. But I'll be out doing all kinds of other things, not on YouTube. But I want my audience that they've learned how to analyze businesses and they've learned how to analyze probabilities for themselves. Like, okay, who is the team behind this? What is the probability that they can make it till the next bull run? What do I like about it? What is their project does? What value does that add to the world and to the crypto space and to other businesses? Are they a viable business really? So that they're taking better odds. Like, one of the challenges with the crypto space is there's all kinds of things that you could throw your money at in crypto. And a lot of them I think are just bad odds. Like, I didn't invest in Bored Ape Yacht Club. People are like, oh, you would have made so much money. And I was like, yeah, but there were 10,000 different NFT projects launching back then that were all like these profile pics, and we're going to be the next CryptoPunks, because CryptoPunks had really kind of hit, and everyone else like, me too, we're going to be great too. And their chances of catching the kind of traction that they did catch were just really low. They ended up doing it. They ended up being one of the few that did it. So out of the 10 or 20 or 30,000 that launched, like 7 to 10 of them end up having substantial growth. And some of it was just luck coming together. So it's like the predictability on it is just really, really low. Same thing with meme coins. I stay away from meme coins. I learned this the hard way, because what I invested in during the bear market of 2018 through 2020, I didn't know. I was just listening to YouTube channels that I felt or hoped they knew what they were talking about. And they were pretty new too. So it was a little bit the blind leading the blind. And so meme coins and some other projects, and only 1/3 of my portfolio survived. But that third did so well that it made it a massive, massive gain for me. And so this bear market, I focused on most of what did the very best the last bear market. Not the exact same projects, but the same kind of business structure, the same things, that patterns that help those ones do well is what I focused on this time, which excludes then meme coins, excludes like most like profile pic projects. It excludes those. And I'm looking for like specific exceptional things that I think have longer term value and the right team and the right narrative that they can catch major traction. So I do like VeVe. I like like specific projects within the NFT space, like what Dapper Labs is doing with NBA Top Shots, NFL Day, UFC Strike. I like, well, you know, in my channel, I cover all this stuff. And for those that are really interested in getting deep, I have 2 courses that I've released where I spend a lot of time teaching you to think like a savage crypto investor, because the returns here can be so phenomenal, like nothing else. Nothing else. Like, what else can you invest in over a 2-year time frame that if you do pretty well, your portfolio can 30x? If you do exceptionally well, your portfolio can 100x.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Cheating in Vegas. I don't think there's any.
Yeah, cheating in Vegas. Cheating in Vegas. If you learn to count cards and throw off the observers so they can't tell you're cheating, you want actually over a 2-year period, you'll make those kind of gains over a whole 2-year period of playing all the time. But they will definitely catch on to you.
Yeah, they even on like there's certain casino, at least in the high limit room, they don't even let you. Yeah, you could do that too. Even the high limit. They don't let you go in like mid shoe, like, because then you can go in there with a buddy, your buddy plays, and then you think, okay, I got a good count, I'll go in now. They're like, nope, you got to play the whole shoe. It's like, okay, so they cut down on it as much as they can, even though counting's technically not cheating. But yeah, they can do what they want.
They don't let you do it because then you're stacking the odds in your favor and not theirs. And the casino's like, yeah, we want you to come and we want you to play here. As long as the odds continue to be stacked in our favor and not yours, we're going to really, you know, encourage you to play here and get you drinks if you do play here. But if you try to stack the odds in your favor, we're going to ask you to leave.
Agreed. On the opposite end of taking profits or putting money in, if I have a windfall of like $1 million, I'll put most of that into crypto right now. In 6 months, if I have a windfall of $1 million, I might put a little bit in, depending on what project's still down, what stuff hasn't run yet. But it moves so fast in this space. I might just take that $1 million, I might put it into something else, and I might just save it for 2.5 years from now and buy the next bear. I don't think the second half of the year is, for me, going to invest anymore. I might, depending on what hasn't run yet. But
Decentralized Sancho says, hey, bud, I took my first big profit a couple of weeks ago, then rolled it into this dip, and it's amazing how it feels to buy earlier than others. Thanks for your knowledge, man. That's great to hear.
Hell yeah.
What about the chance of OMI coming to Coinbase in the next 2 years? Oh, I would love to have them on Coinbase, and I sure as hell hope it's less than 2 years.
Yeah.
What are the chances of them coming on Coinbase in the next 2 years?
I wouldn't. If we had the choice of getting it in like guaranteed getting it in April of next year, I would say no, because at that point the bull run's over. You want it for the bull run. I would want them to get it. I think the odds are they'd probably get it mid-year. It depends on how quickly, if the SEC's case with Coinbase is like thrown out or considered like a moot point, I'd say they can get it probably pretty easily after that. But you also have do you want to start off with them, or do you want to go with the smaller ones first, get a little bump from each one, and then go with the big one? There's multiple ways to skin a cat. Probably multiple ways to go in and get on Coinbase. If they just say whenever we get it, we get it, I would say mid-year, maybe a couple months after the President Trump takes office. But what are your thoughts? When do you think we get it, if we do?
Yeah, I wish I knew. David hasn't yet added me to a speed dial. He doesn't call me and say, Rain. I don't know why he doesn't. Rain, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And is this a good idea? I mean, normally I charge people $1,000 an hour for consulting. For David, I would do it for you for free, just because I love VeVe and OMI. But so far, he's, I'm not on his speed dial, so he doesn't run these decisions by me. Coinbase would be a big deal, so US can more easily get in. Now, it's kind of accessible for US investors. Well, it's definitely accessible for US investors. Now, you can get on Uniswap. you can get a Uniswap on Base, and there's not as much liquidity as it'd be nice to have. And it's fairly complex. One of the reasons why new people coming into crypto, I was like, well, if I knew what I knew today, but I was new at crypto, one of the only reasons I wouldn't tell myself to buy OMI is the complexity of having your own wallet and getting my own Coinbase decentralized wallet so that I can then buy it there. Like as a brand new person, I wouldn't know how to do that. But if OMI were on Coinbase, my answer to them would not be by Flow. It would be by OMI, OMI. I'd be like, that's what I would buy, or that's what I'd tell myself if I were getting on this OMI. It's one of my ones that I'm extremely bullish on. I think the price has swung way too far to the downside, which is awesome. Some people see that as a downside or a down thing. I don't know. I liked buying it Cardano at 3 cents last bear market. That was incredible. People were like, oh my gosh, they're so low. They're stupid. They need to do this, turn around their price. I'm like, I don't know. I got a bonus check coming in 2 weeks. I hope it stays down here. And was able to load up at 3 cents, loaded up a ton at 3 cents. It was amazing. And it went even cheaper for a brief period to 1.7 cents, which was incredible. And most people were like, oh my gosh, they suck. They're the worst ever. And I was like, buy low so you can sell high. But some people, everyone theoretically gets that, buy low, sell high, but they don't do it. Like 5% of people do that. They buy low and then sell high. And that's what I try to teach my audience, is to truly buy low and sell high. And buying low is, you have to be brave, because most people look to this side. They want to see what everyone else is doing and confirm with everyone else that that's a smart thing to do. Remember that most people in life accomplish mediocre results. So if you're looking to the side and everyone's telling you you're doing the right thing, you're, in other words, doing the wrong thing when you're talking about investments. So if everyone agrees you're doing the right thing, you missed it. You're late. You're the smart people's exit liquidity. So if you're looking around and everyone's telling you buying Bitcoin is a smart thing, you actually missed it, and it's actually a good time to sell. If you're looking around and everyone's like, oh, don't buy Bitcoin, it's risky, it's a good time. So, people that have been following OMI's token for a long time, and they're like, oh no, don't buy OMI, it's too risky, it's just done nothing but gone down. And you're like, in other words, don't buy low. Wait, my goal is to make money in investment. I thought as an investor, you want to buy low and sell high. No, don't buy that low. Should I wait till it's a lot more expensive to buy it? Yeah, wait till it's a lot more expensive to buy it. It's like, oh, it's dead now. Oh, is it? It's still tradable. What do you mean it's dead? Well, they're just a slow rug pull. What do you mean by that? Well, I don't know what I mean by that, but they're just a slow rug pull because someone else said that.
Yeah, a lot of these people, it's like, if anyone's ever read 12 Angry Men, one of the jurors tends to just agree with the last person that spoke. And you just happen to have those people that they just agree with the most recent thing that they've read. And outside of Rain, and I'll know more about the VeVe and OMI company and token than 99% of other people that are even just invested in the token. So to have people that aren't invested in, they don't keep up with the news, they just kind of read like the bad headlines, which a lot of those bad headlines are just a tiny hint of truth in it with a bunch of stuff taken out of context, a bunch of opinion pieces. I don't trust anyone else. Like, I'll trust Rain, I'll trust other people. Other people can have different perspectives that can shed light on certain things for me. But I know more about that company or Definity or a lot of these other companies than anyone else. So I'm not going to trust anyone else. By all means, like I said, obviously do your own research. I just hope that, be careful where you get that info from. And
one of the things most people in crypto are looking for is they're looking for someone to tell them what to do in crypto, right? Like, I had somebody, he's like, you know what, Rain, if you just made a channel and you covered every week, like which 5 crypto projects to buy, and like you cover that in 10 minutes, I totally tune in that, because I'm just a really busy guy. And I was like, number one, that sounds like financial advice to me, and I'm not going to do that. Secondly, like, I'm going to make everyone reliant on my analysis. And when my analysis ends up being way, way right, like, y'all love me, but then the times that it's wrong, you're gonna be like, oh, in other words, where are you taking accountability for your future? Where are you developing your skills for your future? What happens if when I retire completely, and I'll probably make YouTube videos, but they might not be about crypto projects. They might be about whatever else. And what are you going to do then? Who's going to tell you what to buy and sell? And even if I were interested in doing that, which I'm completely not, you're not learning anything. You're not growing. In other words, like, go catch fish for me all the time and I'll eat fish. And it's like, yeah, but what happens when, you're not going to learn how to fish? Are you crazy? Like, so when I came into crypto, I was looking to learn to become a savage crypto investor. And I thought everyone else would be coming for the same thing, and they're not. They just want to be told what to do, and I'm not going to offer that. I'm not interested in that. I'm helping people upgrade their thinking so that they can do an informed analysis themselves and come to their own conclusions, because I don't know. I believe in personal development and growth. I love the idea of people becoming really savage, sophisticated investors, that they're asking good questions themselves and they're making their own informed decisions. And I love having discussions with people who are like that, even when we don't agree on things, especially when we don't agree on things, but they have very sophisticated reasons why they're going a different direction. Like Big Hay is here in the chat, and I think he's sold his OMI a while ago. He's very big on VeVe collectibles, but he has other things that are his priorities. So in his station in life, he's less risky. Why? He has great real estate assets to provide passive income for him. He's quasi-retired, living off of his cash flow. And so he's mostly invested in blue chip crypto projects that are lower risk and lower upside potential. So OMI is too risky for him. Most of his stuff is in much less risky stuff like Avalanche, which is a fine thesis, right? That's just a different place. I'm more in, even though I did really, really good gains in 2021, I made the strategic decision to be in projects that had 100x potential. So that's lower market cap projects, or ones that I felt had at least 100x potential. It's lower market cap, riskier projects. And then I'd use research to identify which ones I felt had strong enough teams, a strong enough narrative that they could do that. So that's just an informed difference of what we're going for. So I love talking to Big A about what he's doing, even though he doesn't agree with me on his conclusion. He has very good reasons why he's going a different direction, and that's great. The people that just come in and they FUD on me and they're like, oh, it's a dead coin. It's like, what do you mean dead? Well, they've failed on all these delivery promises. So does that mean they're dead because they missed these deadlines? Well, yes. No, that doesn't mean they're dead. I mean, Amazon missed all their deadlines 20 years ago. And they're still alive today, right? Well, yeah, but that's different. It's like, look, tech businesses miss deadlines all the time. All the time. It's actually more normal that they miss deadlines than they hit deadlines. But it's okay if you don't know that. You're just new at this. What do you mean I don't know that? It's like, no, you just don't know that. Because clearly you're saying it's a dead coin because you think they missed some timelines. That means they're dead. Like, they just don't know what they're talking about.
Preach. Agreed.
Oh. Big A says, yeah, sold OMI April 2023. And he's in like blue chips, right? Like Avalanche and other things, which is fine. Like in his, like he's been actually really responsible with his money and created some good options for himself. And most people, here's one of the challenges when you're not already there is how do you get there, right? And so one of the challenges is if you want to go buy real estate today, depending on what market they're in, your entry level house might be $450,000. Okay, so you got to come up with a 3% down payment on that and a really, really high mortgage, and it'll appreciate potentially well for you over 20 or 30 years. But what if your goal is to massively change your financial station in the coming 8 years? Well, you can do that in crypto. Real estate is going to be hard. You missed a lot of the window of the real estate bull run that's happened over the last 10 years. Like it's well into the real estate bull run. And I don't know how long that's going to continue. Real estate is a risky place to be trying to make your wealth during the coming 5 years. If you haven't already created it, if you already got these properties you haven't paid off and you're getting rental cash flow, that's a really strong position. But for those trying to make millions of dollars so they can buy some assets free and clear, there's no better place than crypto. But you can also lose your money in crypto. So learning how to do it right is an essential part of that.
One of the, it wasn't like a documentary, it was just a show, like how how to like beat Vegas, and like the number one tip was just knowing when to walk away. And that's the biggest thing. One of the things, like, if I would have gone on and sold at, you know, the million or so the OMI was worth, and then bought back I'd have like $1 billion OMI now. Like, I'd just go back in here. That would be so nice. Or I have like a bunch more. And I would have loved to do that. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. Definitely take those profits. I'm not saying, oh, you're 50% profit, take it all, but at some point, it's if you're up like 8x on something, it's probably a good idea. Just take a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, if we all had a magic crystal ball that could show us the future and exactly what things would do within a solid year in crypto, we'd be worth $1 billion over that, even if you're starting with like $5,000. Why? Because you could see exactly what things are going to do. So I wish I knew exactly where the bottom on OMI would be. I wish I knew exactly where the top on Axie Infinity would be. I would have made a whole lot more, and I made really good money on Axie Infinity. Would have made a whole lot more, but we don't have that. You're just playing your odds, and in this, I find we're just trying to take odds or I like to take odds where I feel like the odds are massively stacked in my favor. Well, what helps me decide which ones the odds are massively stacked in my favor? Well, I like to look for companies that have a solid narrative with a strong team, a strong problem that they're solving, and they have enough financial runway to make it to the coming bull market. That's what I look for.
Great. There's the thumbnail on my video is the couple of first appearances on VeVe. It's Darth Vader, it's Wolverine, it's Spider-Man, it's Hulk, and then it's Todd Batman. If crypto's a little too volatile for you, or if OMI's a little too high risk, like I can understand where people are coming from, but I feel like Superman and Batman and Spider-Man are probably not as high risk as OMI. I don't think they'll get the gains that OMI does, but I would say that if you're uncomfortable with OMI, at least just dip your feet into. Now, obviously, I'm not saying like go spend $6,000 on Spider-Man or $4,500 on the gold logo, but just find something that you like and just have fun with it. Play with it. See if you like playing with it. If you're like, you know what, I don't get this AR stuff. I'd rather have like a poster or an actual life-size figurine. That's cool. But if you're like, oh, I can see how people get into this, then there's your answer. Other people will like it as well.
Well, I do get concerned, right? We have a mutual friend that like 2 years ago, he like went all in on OMI. And I was like, diversification. I was like, I like OMI. If I were to go all in on a project, it would probably be OMI, but diversification is key. And there's a reason, because things in the crypto space, different narratives run at different times. So if you're diversified, it puts you in a powerful position, because one of the hardest things to do is simply be patient. Because here's what happens. Say you go all in on something and other narratives hit way before it in the bull run, because they don't always all hit at the same time. So what if the narrative you're in hits late in the bull run? You're going to watch all these other things take off. And guess what you're probably going to do, especially if this is your first bull run? You're going to sell what you have that's low to chase into something that just 10x. Bad move. And what made that possible? Well, impatience made that possible, but also lack of diversification. Diversification across a number of good projects in different narratives allows you to do the opposite. So say in the early bull run, AI runs, and you have something in the AI narrative that goes 15x. Well, what if you then took all your profits out of that 15x and you roll that across a few other things into narratives that hadn't run, and then those narratives run and they did say that AI play did another 10x from there, so you would have made 150x. That's amazing. But you rolled that money into some other things that did a 40x from there, so you're already gotten 15x gains. You rolled into something that did a 40x. Your overall return on that money specifically was a 600x. But diversification made that possible, because you were diversified across a number of things, because you don't know what's going to run first. And so when our friend went like all in on OMI, I was like, diversification. And so he eventually kind of came around to that, but it was like probably later than I wish. But sometimes you got to let people figure it out for themselves. Diversification is an important part of like crypto. So I'm not just in OMI, even though it's one of my higher conviction plays. And I'm in a number of things. Like one of the questions is, Ben Rose jumping in. What's up, Ben Rose? Can Rain do the Caterpillar on stream like he did in New York Comic Con? Go on, celebrate Q1 arriving. Well, in the studio, I don't have the space for that, but at the next VeVe get together, I will do that. Maybe I'll even one up that. Who knows?
Ooh, I can't wait to see that. Hi there. Hey. Oh, sorry. Go to Wheels.
Yeah, great question by Wheels, right? Great meeting VeVe Wheels. I've met him before. Cool guy. Are there any projects you still consider early besides OMI? Yeah, lots.
I mean, to take your pick, Definity is one of my. There's a chance that my Definity bag becomes bigger than my OMI bag soon. It's just again, what they're making is not public. I wish they would go and tell everyone so that this way we can kind of gauge on how much they're doing, or at least even what they're grossing. I don't want to say netting, because $8 million or $7 million market cap is very, very low, and I know they're doing business. I know they're making money. I'm very curious to see what that does, and then outside of them, like I said, we're Deie, we've talked about quite a bit. There is just because you're early doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. Like something like, let's say like Mudo, like for DNA. If you got in on the pre-sale, you're doing pretty well. But now they're at like a $500 million market cap. And that's kind of big already, especially for a new token. They just got listed on MEXC and all that. But give me $1 million. I don't know how much. A very small amount would probably go into that. It's great for long term. They're disrupting DeSci. That narrative has yet to run, but I'd rather go in on something like Deie. It's been around for a while and it's been launched for a while, because that's, again, they have $100 million market cap, and those gains are going to be insane.
Yeah, right around $100 million mark, or under $100 million market cap. I think it's 80 million or something, and can do 8 million transactions per second. You almost have to listen to the AMAs. I did 2 interviews, one with Randy Chavez, and we had their spokesperson on Austin recently, and he goes into why enterprise blockchain is a big deal and why most people aren't thinking about enterprise blockchains, because most of us in the crypto space, we haven't worked with enterprises before. We don't think about these problems and why their solutions are critical for what businesses are going to want and need out of their blockchain solution. And so I think they've got a great potential to go massively from here, and realize their market cap's only 80 million. And I released some videos a while ago on my top 5 projects that I liked, and OMI was one of those, but Deie was in there and a few other ones. And so you can go back and watch those videos. So Devie's already had a little bit of a run. It bottomed out at like 12 or 13 cents. So it's floating around $1 now. So it's 8x up, but it was so devastatingly cheap. It was ridiculous. And I did cover it back then. I was like, it should never be at these prices. These prices are absolutely ridiculous. The fact that it's so low, it mostly has to do with token investing pressure and just timing, but it's super cheap. And I still think even at $1, it's really cheap. I think it's got potential to be in the hundreds of dollars. Now, will that potential be realized? I think so, but I can't say I know it will. That diversification friend, well, I did talk to Randy about diversification, but that wasn't specifically the one I was thinking of. But I was like, Randy, diversification.
Yeah. So
Randy has diversified a bunch.
Yeah. So that's why I haven't really bought as much OMI this year or the year before as I have prior, because getting into Definity, getting into Deie, getting into all these things, just, hard to buy OMI when you're buying a bunch of other stuff as well. But we'll get.
And you put more into collectibles. I love the collectibles. It's been hard as I allocate money towards this space, right? Most of it's gone into OMI, which is hard because I'd love to have like higher master collector status. And I would love to be in the first 100 to level 100. But as I free up more money, I put it into OMI because it's so devastatingly undervalued, in my opinion, that I look at the collectibles and I think, well, they're undervalued, but they're not devastatingly undervalued. So I put the money into OMI. And then other people are like, oh, well, you know, how are you doing? Are you almost to level 100? I'm like, no. And they're like, why? And I was like, well, because I keep buying millions and tens of millions more OMI. And every time more, and you know, I'm diversified across a ton of other projects too. Like OMI isn't even my biggest holding. It's just the only, if I were to go all in on one project, my opinion is it's the only one I would go all in on, because it doesn't have the upside potential that some of the others I'm interested in do, but like it is less risky in my opinion than those ones that have higher potential.
No. Preach. The rest of the comments, let's see, I haven't. VeVe Wheels, it was awesome meeting you all as well. Big A's regardless of how well OMI may do. Glad to see Random Diversified. Meow. How up would you be before taking out original investment? Oh, before taking out? If I were to take it out right now, I'm down like 550,000, down a lot. So that's why I wouldn't want to sell now. I would go in and I'd start to sell a little. It depends what other stuff does. If OMI runs and then like Definity stays down here and OMI does like a 5x, I'll take a little bit out. Like, well, Chavez at a 5x, you're still below your average price. Like, yes, I would be, but there's a lot that I bought down here in the 0003s and 0004s, and that's in profit, and I'll go and take that and put it into Definity. Obviously the bulk I wouldn't take out until, well, it depends. If we 3 to 5 cents is my base, but we get Pokemon, then it's like, okay, 10 cents is like locked in at that point. So I'll go and I'll probably sell the rest at like 8 cents then. I wouldn't take as much profit at 1 or 2 or 3 to 5 cents if we get Pokemon. I'm like, all right.
You know, going back to VeVe and OMI, one of the challenges I had with VeVe about, I don't know, 6 months ago is I felt like they didn't really take the time to interact with the influencers, right? Then they made a couple steps. One of the steps they brought on was some community managers, which was brilliant because their community managers are awesome. Number one, I think they made the right hires there. Secondly, those community managers got really involved, but to have the co-CEO to jump in on our streams regularly tells you there's been a complete shift there, right? And that's awesome, as well as they're bringing on Randy, and I talked to one of the guys that's helping look at the potential for an affiliate program with influencers, and they definitely are going pedal to the metal with gas on this. After that chat with the guy that they brought on for that, I was like, ooh, they made a great hire with this guy. I think that they really tap into some really big channels as crypto goes crazy and digital collectibles go crazy. And they've definitely made it a concerted effort to, okay, you know, probably we didn't put enough focus on this because as a business, you only have so much time and attention, and you have all these things trying to get your attention. And so, you know, as backseat drivers, we can always say, oh, I wish they did this better and did this better. And maybe sometimes they even agree, yeah, I wish I'd done that better too. I definitely feel like they put a good amount of focus on growing their community involvement, which is helpful because one of the reasons VeVe's created such magic is that they've created this community that's incredible. I've had other projects come ask me, they're like, how do we do what VeVe did? I'm like, how do you did what VeVe did? Like,
magic sucks.
Number one, I think David Yu is magnetic. Part of the reason the VeVe community is still behind him is because like they truly like they see a guy who's super passionate about this space, and he's got really good IP. Secondly, I think timing. Third is with the way the timing worked out, they got a bunch of people with YouTube channels that dedicate it to VeVe, and we're pretty much only covering VeVe. And how do you really embrace that? Well, they did something cool in that they sent out these VeVe logos, which was smart back then, but how did that really come together? I don't know. And it's hard to say how you duplicate that. But kind of it didn't get any attention after that for a long time. So definitely the VeVe team has stepped it up on, okay, let's have our community involvement be better. We realize we have an amazing community. And to be true, at the events, Dan and David have been amazing in interacting with the community. Like, you see them, they have tons of people needing their time and attention, and they put a lot into being out with the community as much as they can at those events. And that's cool. But their outreach to the community has been awesome. Ben Rose, I think, as an investor, I didn't know who you were prior to VeVe bringing you on. And I didn't know what to think about you for about 2 or 3 weeks. As I watched you kind of in the things that you were taking charge of and leading on, I was like, I like this guy. And by now I can say, I really like what you're doing there. Really excited about that hire. So welcome, very excited to have you as co-CEO of VeVe, and love what you're doing there. Isn't it? I put a lot of money into OMI and also into VeVe. Makes me excited when I see the business making really solid decisions. And, the new guy putting together the affiliate program and stuff, another super hire. Bring on Foster Hill and My Collectibles. I'm like, great hires. When I see companies making great, smart decisions on who they bring in, that makes me excited.
Yeah. There's a couple of ways to add to a business. You have value adds, like hire some people that we've met. And this might ruffle little feathers over here, but there's a scene in Cobra Kai where what's his name is talking to this new girl about Cobra Kai, and it's like, I thought we were supposed to add to our dojo, but you're kicking people out. And he says, addition by subtraction. You've had at least one person, a former employee of VeVe, saying like, my job was disestablished. I don't really know that person. I'm sure that person was nice, but I can't tell you what that person had done in the last 6 months. So you have your normal additions of adding valuable people. He's hired, especially in marketing. Ben's hired that in marketing. But a lot of companies that I've invested in the past, they're like, okay, get rid of the bottom, consistently have meetings with the bottom 10%. And again, I'm not saying that this is what happened, but the way it seems, like one of these people that had made public that their job has been disestablished, I don't think that would have happened if that person was bringing X amount of value to the table. So it seems that Ben isn't, pussyfooting around and going is like, hey, bring in the value, or, we have to rediscuss what your position here. And that's very hard to do. So the fact that, and again, that might be completely different than what actually happened, just the way that it seemed. It looks very good. I'm very, very, like, again, it's like, hey, if let's say Ben is like the US government, and he's like, okay, Department of Government Efficiency, are you justifying your value here? As opposed to like what we have now is like, yeah, we pay half our money to taxes. They can't tell us what these freaking drones are in New Jersey. Like, where's that money going? Where's that money going? How are you justifying this? So I really like what Ben's doing here.
A lot of people don't realize. So when I was in business school, right, we had this class on entrepreneurship, and this guy came in, and he was a business owner that had created a couple of successful businesses. And he said, let me tell you, you're thinking about your jobs all wrong. This is how an employer thinks about it. So you think being like, you want to get the most pay for your job, and that's great. But this is how an employer looks at it. They look at what your name is, what your title is, and how much you're getting paid every year. And as they go down, they say, is this person worth what I'm paying for? And if the answer is no, you're out of a job. And so it's like, people are like, oh my gosh, they're so mean. They fired me. What a terrible, terrible company. And it's like, in other words, you just told me that when they looked at that, they're like, you're not worth what we're paying you. So we have to get rid of you, right? Because you can't just like decrease what you're paying people. They'll become bitter and they'll become worse employees. So you have to let them go. But like, they're actually insulting themselves when they're like, I got fired from XYZ company. But they think from the victim mindset, that company was so mean, they fired me, rather than, I wasn't adding enough value that they found a way to keep me. Because sometimes in business, they do have to make positions go away. But if that person was a freaking amazing employee, they would have found a position for them in another spot. The fact that they didn't tells you they probably likely weren't an amazing employee. And look, the truth is, my first few jobs, I was a sucky, and then I was a mediocre employee because I was just new at it. I had a job at Dairy Queen, and they asked me to go clean the bathroom. And growing up, one of my chores was cleaning the bathroom. And so what my mom had me focus on is the toilet was like completely clean, right? So I'd go in and clean the bathroom. I was all happy with my job. Like, I'm like thinking, I did such a great job. The toilet looks amazing. Then the owner takes me back and he's like, I asked you to clean the bathroom and I don't see much difference here. I was like, look at the toilet. It's so clean. And he's like, see all this dirt all over the walls? Oh, yeah. And he's like, when customers come in, they see all this dirt everywhere. I'm like, how did I not even think about that? In my mind, I'm like, oh man, but I just wasn't a good employee yet. It took me some time to figure out being a good employee, so that as the employer looked at it, they're like, is he bringing more value than we're paying him? So if the answer to that is no, you're not going to be there very long.
Great. It reminds me of the show Undercover Boss. You ever see that?
Yeah.
And he goes in and he decides, like, okay, is this person training me correctly? Are they doing this correctly? And yeah,
that was a fun show, because they also sometimes at the high end as a CEO, you don't get to see what it's like as an entry-level person. You can see sometimes when your processes are going wrong. Sometimes people are bad employees because they just haven't been trained. Like in that case, the owner took me and he showed me what he expected from me. And then I was able to do a better job because I just didn't know. I was doing a good job for what my mom wanted me to do on a bathroom, but I hadn't even thought through it that, yeah, probably when customers come in, they don't want the walls to be all dirty. And it would seem like such a simple conclusion that you would just automatically know. And yet I didn't realize it. I wasn't not cleaning that because I was being lazy. I literally didn't know. So that came down to training.
Oh, it's not a bad thing to just clean like the toilet. So for all of our younger male audience out there, if you're gonna have a girl over, clean that bathroom, make sure that toilet is spotless. The cleaner it is, the better chance you have of having a good time that night. Because if it's dirty, ain't gonna happen, fam. It's not gonna work.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So what else is on your mind? So I can't say I know how 2025 is going to play out. The charts look like things want to run. People ask, someone asked earlier, is it going to run before Trump's inauguration or after? That's a really interesting question. I don't know, right? Like, so January 6th is the certification of the votes, and we'll see how that goes. Last January 6th after election was interesting. We'll see if this one's interesting. I have no idea if there's shenanigans planned or not. And then 20th, or what is the inauguration for the U.S. president? Yeah, so we'll see, because Trump's not president yet. He doesn't have actual power to do things yet. So he can't start changing things. So we'll see.
Congress gets in tomorrow.
What's that?
The Congress changes tomorrow. The Congress has, I think they go in on the 3rd.
Okay. Do they?
Oh, hiccups. Oh, it's not. Oh God! No, bless me. Oh. We're good. Sorry. Yeah. So that helps, but yeah, I think when he goes in, I think it'll be better for the world too. I think the world on a global scale will just have a bit more.
We were just instantly demonetized for saying anything positive about Trump coming into office. So thanks, Google and YouTube. We love you. We understand you don't like Trump. That's okay. Yeah. Trump's interesting, right? So Trump, you have an idea because he was president for 4 years. In the middle of, we had this weird like flu pandemic thing across the world and shutdowns, which was the craziest thing ever. But, his first year and a half before that happened, you have an idea like what his policies would be. And his policies supercharged the economy back then when he came in. And like 8 years of Obama, like Obama is a very cool, likable guy, but his economic policy sucked. And I remember, the news trying to sell you on this idea that America's best days were behind it. And we're just going to help manage the decline was what you were being told every day by the news. And Trump came in and he showed that isn't what had to be. So anyway, so we'll see what happens this time. I don't know. I
I
think he's more prepared for Washington than he was his first time.
And I also like this idea that he keeps floating around. So, granted, he didn't do it last time. He tried and failed. He just tried to buy Greenland. He's like, hey, we'll give you X amount of money. And they said no, but at least he tried. And it seems like he's trying to do something like that with Canada, calling him like Governor Trudeau. And I mean, that dude, there's some things that are just wild out there. The laws, like, I saw a video before of this old guy was being arrested. This was in the UK, but he was being arrested because his post caused somebody anxiety on Facebook. What?
In what country? In Canada?
No, this was the UK.
Oh, the
I could
UK has
see
gotten
something like that happening.
crazy with that.
Can we do like a reverse annexation? Can we annex them? I know we separated from them.
No, we don't want their judges and their politicians. Like,
I mean, we don't want Canada's judges and politicians either.
well, Canada's judges and politicians are better than the UK's. The UK's are crazy. So I don't.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So Canada's an okay place to live still. UK has gotten crazy. Their people are amazing. I love most of their people. Their judges and politicians are crazy.
Their drinks are amazing too. They got
they have some fun food, and I love the accents and stuff. But like,
what
there's a reason
food
why
do they
they're
have?
no longer the major economic power that they were.
Yeah.
Bad economics, and bad economics comes from bad policies.
Yeah, bad times. So this is one of the things I get concerned about too. That's that meme that says like, hard times create like hard but good men and successful men, and those successful men create easy times. And those easy times create soft men, and the soft men create the hard times. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to. I feel like we kind of had it hard growing up, and then things became a little too easy, or it was kind of going that way, but we're kind of fighting against that. Be like, no, we're gonna, because now you have somebody that's older that knows business, like Trump. I hope we can continue the good times for a little while longer, but I think that might be inevitable. Especially with AI, and just a lot of things might come too easy. I don't know how we stay with all the job destroying that's going to go on.
It's a cycle that the world comes in, and like when times are really, really good, people start to experiment with compassionate policies, and these compassionate policies often then get abused because it misaligns incentives, and they create like terrible economic conditions and other things. So like Kelly Boudreau, yes, she's very correct. Trudeau is on his way out anyway. Yes, this is Rafael Martinez. Did you see that judge using Oculus for a court case? Huge for the AR scene in 2025. I think AR, what we're seeing now for AR is not what AR is going to be. When mobile phones first came about by Cellular One, they were like this big brick of a thing that like was like this big with a big antenna, and like it didn't really fit in your pocket. Some later versions did better, but it like had its own carrying case because they were so big, like a strap that you could wear it.
If you had those big Jenko jeans, the phone fit in that.
Yeah, like Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell had his, but that wasn't a version 1. That was like a little bit later version with a little bit smaller size. But it was Zach Morris was so cool because he had a cell phone, right, at school. And then, like, what kids don't have a cell phone these days at school? Yeah. So, like, I think AR will become less bulky, more integrated. Maybe these shades, something like these shades, maybe it'll be right in your contact lenses. Maybe you'll have whatever surgery that puts it right in, right? So you don't even have to wear contacts. Who knows what that looks like? But I think the technology will get better, cheaper, and more improved over time.
And we're talking about judges getting this type of AR. I think if we go for training, a lot of law enforcement could really benefit from AR and AI as well, because you could put these scenarios in, say like, okay, routine traffic stop, but then like 1 out of every 50 scenarios, someone pulls a gun on them, like, okay, how do you handle this? Or maybe someone's like on drugs and they're acting really funky, but they don't have a weapon. Like, I feel like that's really good training for law enforcement if they're able to go through scenarios with really next to no danger.
Well, remember, like in the Terminator movie, that he could see like elevated heart rates and stuff, right? Imagine your AR glasses can pick up elevated heart rates, which give you an indicator they're in fight or flight mode. They might be preparing to run, or they might be preparing to fight. And so they'd have a little bit of an indicator on routine traffic stops because, cops put their lives on the line. And sometimes we all get annoyed by cops. Oh, I got pulled over for speeding for 7 over. Can you believe it? That can be frustrating, and I get it. But also at the same point, police do literally put their lives on the line all the time. And so like when they're pulling someone over, that is off, it can turn into a life-threatening situation for them. So like glasses in AR ones that could pick up things kind of like the Terminator, where it could see elevated blood pressure or whatever their beats per minute is increasing massively, their heart rate is, that like, oh, it can be a warning sign, give them a heads up. That would actually make them more comfortable, so that more likely when you're just speeding and they come pull you over and you're just like rushed during your day, they're a lot more likely to be friendly.
As far as uses, I don't know if this would ever happen, but I would love it if this is like a video game. So in video games, it doesn't let you go to the next level unless you beat the previous level. Like you have to be good enough before you go to the next one. If you have something like, let's say like teaching, and the reason I brought this up is because like, what if you had a game in there that says you have to have a lesson plan that keeps 2/3 of the class engaged? Like you're always going to have the people that are high, or people that just ate and they're sleeping, or the people that have like ADHD and they just don't want to be there. You're always going to have those people. But if you have like teachers go through this course of, okay, you have to create a lesson plan, you have to do this, that's going to keep the attention of 66% of the kids in your class, and you're not allowed to become a teacher unless you pass these types of things. I think that would be really cool, because I've had some very good teachers, and I've had some people like, what are you doing? Like, this is horrendous. You should not be a teacher.
Yeah, one of the challenges is they can't pay really good teachers more, and they have a hard time firing the bad teachers. So, of course, school systems suck in U.S. and Canada, right? That is, the meritocracy is completely gone in the school system. No wonder our school systems are failing, because like you can't pay good ones better, and all innovation has been stripped out of schools completely, or almost completely. It's kind of like in the U.S., the Department of Education, this overbloated bureaucracy who may be getting kickbacks, who knows, gets to determine what can be used, and they don't usually make the best decisions. So I lived in the state of Arizona for a little while, and I saw that they did charter schools there, and there was this Academy for Excellence, or I forget what it was, but it was a charter school, and the students were doing outrageously good in it, and the teachers who worked for it actually got paid a little bit less than the public education ones did, and way more was expected out of them, but the teachers loved it. And guess what? They let go all their bad teachers, and the ones who did really, really good, they rewarded. And so the structures were aligned, and that school was just doing incredible, and all the parents wanted their kids to go to that school. And because it was a charter system, it didn't cost them anything extra to go to that school. They'd pull them from the public school and put it in that. And it was a much better system than the public education system. Unfortunately, the school systems are broken. When I was writing my last job that I had, I wrote deals for an investment company that would either wholesale the homes back out, or they would fix and flip them. And while working that job, I met two different people. One was a successful engineer. I don't remember the career of the other guy, but made tons of money, retired, and said, I wanted to go work in inner city schools. So imagine like Toronto's school system or another school system. They're like, I want to go help at these schools. And they would go in and they would teach, and they had real life experience in this. And their students loved it, because they would connect the students, what they're learning, with what he's teaching them in the class. And the students loved it. And you know what? The students, that became their favorite class. And because it was their favorite class, they had so much fun. They were all earning A's in the class. In both cases, they got called into the principal. You know what the principal told them?
What?
You have too many people passing your class.
What?
You need to fail at least this percentage of your class, or we as a school will lose the extra funding that we get for helping our underprivileged kids to do better.
So they're financially incentivizing the teachers to fail. That is ridiculous.
He said, who am I supposed to fail? They're all earning these grades. I don't know, but you have to figure it out or we have to let you go. Both of them got fired. And people ask why the education system is broken. That's why the education system is broken. Because the money they're sending to underperforming schools to help them turn around, they're not really sending those schools to help them turn around. They're sending those schools the money to keep failing students. And that's what the incentive is, to keep failing students, not to teach them. In fact, if you're too good and you help them get so excited about school, they all end up earning A's, you will lose your job with us, is what they're saying.
So that's why there's this big issue with like you take something like that, and that's immediately ammunition for the 99, those radicalists and the 99% to say like, eat the rich. This is why like the rich shouldn't be rich anymore. The government should take all their money because it's like, this is how you keep people being poor, like constantly failing. And like part of their argument is not wrong. I don't know the calculus behind doing that. Maybe it's because, again, the kickbacks, but this is why I think that's one of the things the Department of Government Efficiency should look at. Now, obviously, how many of these school systems are like this? I don't know. Probably not too many.
The inner city school systems and all the large majors, and it's not just a problem in Canada, it's a problem in the US. Yeah. And it's like, so this whole program, and probably the people who set up these programs intended that to be the case. Yeah. But that's never going to be the case that they're going to make to you. The case that they're going to make to you is, oh, we have to help these kids and we're spending more money to these schools to help turn them around. It's like, well, what are you doing to help hold those schools accountable? What do you mean accountable? Meaning like, okay, if half their kids are failing, if next year half their kids are still failing and you just gave them 30% more money, how is that holding them accountable? Yeah. Well, not only do they have to still have half of them failing, if they improve those numbers, we're going to take away their funding. It's like, oh, what the hell are you doing at the Department of Education? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, so that's the case that they make. Some make the case you need to eat the rich. And it's like, in other words, give the government more power. This is a government power problem. This is the government is running the Department of Education. This is not the rich problem. This is a government problem. This is, you gave the government decisions on all these and they're doing it badly because, I mean, Ronald Reagan was amazing. Ronald Reagan talked about it. He's like, the 7 scariest words in the English language are, we're the government and we're here to help. Like, they don't make your lives better in most cases. And that doesn't mean there aren't lots of employees who are well-intentioned, some of them even amazing. It's just the incentives are often messed up. And there are governments more efficient than Canada's and the US's. In some places in Europe, not the UK. Sorry, I don't want anything to do with what the UK is doing in their government systems presently, but and not France. Sorry, France. Yeah. But there are other ones that are more efficient in their government things. But yeah, government's pretty inefficient. Elon Musk coming in and cleaning up through the Department of Government Efficiency is needed because governments don't have to be run so poorly. So we can go back to crypto. We don't have to talk about saving the world from itself.
The LeBron James just posted a photo of him using Doge to buy a pair of sneakers. I think Doge runs from here, maybe gets to like $1.50, $2 at the blow off top. But it's just like everyone gets excited. Like a lot of the people that I know that don't know anything about crypto, or they have a little bit, like, yeah, have some Doge, have some XRP, and that's fine. You'll likely have modest gains, but I get a little. I wish I could. It feels like when I'm back in my conspiracy days of like 07, 08, like the government's doing this, and like and like nobody listens. Like those are great, fine investments. Even though Doge doesn't really do much, but they're fine investments. But I don't know. I get a little strange on how people like, hey, we should get SUI or SUI we should get all this stuff in the top 10 or top 20, but they don't have any of their portfolio that's outside of that. There's nothing that's, I know all crypto is risky, but I just wish they would understand that the better gains come from stuff that's these micro caps. How do we get them to listen to that? Is it just like you have to let them, live and learn?
Yeah, getting people to listen is an interesting thing. All you can do is share with them and make an articulate argument. And then they're going to make their own decisions on that, which is okay. And some people will wake up to it. Some people will buy like meme coins and buy them high and sell them low, and they'll wash out of crypto entirely, and they'll think crypto is a scam. It's like, you were just doing it wrong. So of course it ended poorly for you. When you do the wrong things, you get bad results. And just because you had bad results doesn't mean it was a bad place to be. It was a great place to be doing the right things. And so many people come to space doing the wrong things. I stay away from meme coins. Like, now, if I were friends with Elon Musk and he told me beforehand exactly when he was going to tweet on Doge, yes, I would own Dogecoin. Why? I'd just be playing the sentiment. And Dogecoin has been around long enough, like the meme coins have been around long enough. You could make the argument to me that, okay, their chances of failure are much, much lower. But also you're just playing for when the meme coin narrative hits. And specifically with Doge, the only reason Doge is really still around and anywhere near the price it is because Elon Musk tweets about it and has had fun kind of embracing it and the idea behind it, because it's the hardest one for the SEC to declare a security. And so it's the hardest one for them to come after him to say that he's like messing around with the security. And so Dogecoin, because there's no actual like team actively working on developing it, the SEC has the hardest time trying to say this is a security versus even all the other meme coins. And so he can tweet about whatever the heck he wants, especially in such a powerful position where he literally can swing the price. He could possibly get in trouble for that if he was doing that with the security. But because the case is so weak for them to declare Doge as security, he enjoys playing around with it and not having the kind of problems he would have if they could declare it was a security. And so that's why I think he's embraced Doge and making the Department of Government Efficiency, like, that's just fun and funny. Like, had I known he would embrace Doge so heavily, maybe I would have continued like playing the Dogecoin swings, but the predictability is just not high enough. And Elon Musk doesn't reach out to me directly or indirectly and tell me, Rain, here's what I'm going to say about Doge. But if he did, I would probably buy Doge corresponding to that and sell it corresponding to that.
So I guess speaking of securities and stuff like that, there is some fake news floating around of people saying that OMI has been labeled a security in the ruling of the latest litigation. Just because somebody is potentially committing securities fraud doesn't mean that they're working with a security. So guys, be advised that there's a lot of fake news going around. This is why I tell everyone to be careful who you listen to. There's been zero ruling on that.
Yeah. Delta Plane. Hey, Rain, thanks for the Deie suggestion months ago. Well, you're welcome. Yeah, Deie, I like that, right? So when I first heard about Deie in 2021, my friend called me up and he's like, hey, do you know that there's a company that can do 8 million transactions per second with their blockchain? And they've been developing since like 2015. And I was just like, that's impossible. I would have heard of them by now. But it's like, yeah, I know the CEO. I've talked to him a couple of times. I could set you up a call with him. And at the time, they had no token publicly launched at all, even though they had been developing for so long. And I had a chat with him. I was like, man, this guy's super smart. What they're doing is super cool. And so I personally invested really heavy in Deie way back in 2021 in the company behind it. And then their token. So, yeah, their token's done really well. And I followed it closely because of not only my investment, but my fascination with what they're doing. I do like Deie. I think it has massive potential for the future. They're the type of project that I'm looking for. And, one of the frequent ones we cover, OMI, Deie is in the enterprise blockchain space, which really hasn't had its own narrative run. But blockchains have their narrative. and it's faster than all the blockchains. I think there's an argument to be made why Deie could be worth so much more, and I frequently make that argument. OMI is in a space of digital collectibles, which I think collectibles go digital over time, and it's one of the leaders in the digital collectible space. That's why OMI I believe in. And there's other ones like Definity. Randy made the case for Definity. Somebody said Infinity, and he's like, oh man, Infinity, you guys are idiots or whatever. And I deleted his comment, because if you can't make an articulate argument why you disagree, and use words like idiots and stuff, I just don't have time for you anymore in my life. I'm sorry. But yeah, I just totally banned the user. If you make what I would consider dumb arguments like that, my channel, I can do that if I want to, and I will. Now, if you make me a case like you don't like OMI because of this, like Big A, this is one of my friends, and he made the case why he thinks OMI will still do well. He just preferred some other projects. I don't have any problems with that. But there's a huge case between, oh, I'm not investing in OMI because of this and this and this, and calling people names. You call people names in here, you're pretty much going to get booted.
That is a good cut. Should probably say this. I want to ask a question. So we had talked about, there's somebody that we were streaming with. It wasn't on our show, it was on somebody else's show. And it was kind of like a Bulls versus Bears argument. And the guy had said, like, well, I'm not talking bad about OMI, but I just think there's better stuff to invest in. And you had made the argument of, well, that's kind of like talking bad about OMI without talking bad about OMI. I forget what the actual words you said was, but it was something along those lines.
Yeah, I learned this through manipulators, right? So one of the ways you can savage something the worst is make it seem like you have nothing but good intentions for them. So I was married to a person like this, and since then, like, I learned some very valuable lessons. But the way she would slaughter somebody is she would say, "Oh my gosh, I just love this person so much. They're this is like, oh, see, but I'm just so concerned because they've been doing this and this and this." And so they would slaughter them indirectly while kind of hiding their real intention. So when we were on that show, it's like, oh, I really believe in OMI, but it just like hit me exactly like that person used to do. And I've since seen other people that are manipulators do that. Now, maybe they weren't intending to do it, but it sure seemed to me like that they had a different agenda. And essentially they were pitching their own program of like, yeah, pay this money to join my Telegram group and follow my calls. And to me, it seemed like that's what their agenda was. So it's like, there's a case to people can make that they just want to trade crypto. And that's cool. Like, as a YouTube channel, if I like had Bybit affiliates and exchange affiliates like crazy, and I just encourage people to trade like crazy, I could build an amazing income off of encouraging that. The reason I don't encouraging trading all the time, because I've seen the most wealth made in crypto made from people who buy during the bear market and they hold till the bull market. So those that like are trading all the time, they don't make near as much as people that approach it the other way, especially if they're using research so that they're picking really good projects during the bear market. So all the people that I know that made millions of dollars through crypto, they literally just bought and hold good research projects during the bear market and held it till the bull market and then sold. So that's the approach I advocate. The approach of like trying to trade and get 15% here and 20% there. Like, I had a friend who's really good at that. And in 2021, we were at the Bitcoin conference, and, he was exceptional, and he was selling indicators, and he was making like $600,000, I think, per month, selling his indicators. And with his channel was quite big, and his revenues and his sponsors and everything, he's making like crazy money per month. He wasn't even very old. So I'm thinking this guy is like this exceptional trader and stuff, right? And I was like, so how much money have you made over the past 12 months? And he's like, I made 70%. Like, and he's all proud of like, I made 70% over the last 12 months. And he's like, how about you? And I was like, I'm up 11x. Like, and I was like, geez, he's made 70%, like not 70x, like 70%, like he's up like 1.7x. Like, so he's just up like 0.7% from where he was, or 0.7x. Like, he's not even at 2x. Oh my gosh. And he knows so much about in and out and trading and charts and pattern analysis. And he even sells his own indicators. He's really good at this. Wow. Okay. Well, trading in and out all the time is not the place to be. And most people can't do it successfully anyway, like even when you train them. And so I learned, like, one of the guys that I know that made millions of dollars during the last bear market, I think there's something seriously wrong with his IQ. Like, seriously wrong with his IQ. His intelligence, when you have conversation with him, is weird. And yet he made millions of dollars by this research buy and hold strategy. So if he can do that, I'm like, can anyone do this? Well, I wish anyone could do it. Anyone has the potential to be able to do it, but some just don't have the patience. Because look, even though his intelligence might not be super amazingly high, he had patience. And I find it only works for those that'll be patient. You have to let it play out. And that's where a lot of people mess up. They might even have really high IQs and they want to jump into trading because then they feel like they're trading all the time. It just doesn't work out as well for them.
There's a someone that we were talking to before saying like, well, this, you know, these people that you know, they trade and they're successful all the time, and the people that are good at it, like, obviously you still have your losses, like obviously the wins go in and more than make up for that. And they're saying, well, these people made, you know, 300% last year, like that's great. I don't know, part of me just wanted me to go and be like, wanted to go with them just because the big again, you said the big gains are from buying and holding. Trading is hard. It doesn't work all the time. And let's say you're consistent, it's fine. But if you're doing it, okay, a little bit here, a little bit there, and then suddenly you're right the last 9 times for these trades, and then you decide to do a big trade and that's the one that loses, and then you just kind of wipe out all the gains and then some. It's just very, I won't say scary, but it's uneasy for me. I don't like that type of stuff.
You know, most people, like Dr. Stuff talks about this, and he's like, but he has shared, like, the story's been passed around, but I haven't seen that it's verified. And Dr. Stuff said that he hasn't seen that it's verified either. But it's like, supposedly, according to the story, that they look at like the top 10% of Fidelity's customers on who were the most successful of the people, you know, that had their funds invested with Fidelity. And they realized that most of those were dead. And because they were dead, they weren't trading in and out of positions. They were just taking long-term positions because they were dead. And so they weren't calling up and saying, hey, trade this, or they weren't logging in and trading things. So buy and hold this strategy. Now, I specifically like the time frame of buy during the bear market and hold till everyone's talking about crypto and it goes absolutely crazy, and then sell. And it literally is that simple. But simple doesn't mean easy, because you have to be patient. Number one, you're buying during a time where everyone tells you you're crazy if you're buying. In fact, how's it been buying OMI for the past 6 months? If you were to go on Twitter and announce that you just bought a bunch of OMI, fair to say you got a shit ton of hate. If you were in the comments, our videos, and was like talking about buying OMI, there's a bunch of people like, oh my gosh, OMI's the worst ever. Cool. So it's not necessarily easy. You'll have tons of people tell you you're absolutely stupid to be buying low, funny enough. And then when you go to sell, there's going to be a ton of people like, what are you doing? No, I just refinanced my house and I pulled out $90,000 and I'm throwing it into OMI at 10 cents or whatever the price is. And you're like, I'm selling. Now I'm really selling, you know. That's what it feels like. And you have to be willing, you have to be able to go against what the majority are doing. And I've learned over time, some people can't handle that. They need social acceptance from everyone that what they're doing is right. And for them, crypto isn't right. If you need that social acceptance, that you have to look around and everyone tell you you're doing the right thing, I'd say investment in general might not be your strength, because to buy low, you have to be buying when everyone's telling you it's a bad idea. And to sell high, you have to be selling when everyone's telling you that's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's fighting against nature is hard. People are social creatures, but again, that's the Pareto distribution. You see it everywhere, whether it's in companies. 20% of the work is done by 80% of the people. You see it in life where 20% of the men get 80% of the women. And in investing, it might even be even harsher than this, where 20% of the investors get 80% of the money. And again, that might be too conservative. You might be like 5% of the people get like 85% of the money. And it just goes down to who's patient. You have to be patient. And again, like, it's, look at the people that say like, oh, I'm in it for the long term. They talk a big game, in it for 10 years, and they don't last 18 months and they sell. It's like, okay, so clearly this person doesn't have that patience. They're not in it for the long term. And just be careful, guys.
Yeah, like you. What's so funny is persistence over time is what makes all the difference, right? Like I like to say my superpower in life was being bad at everything when I started. And people look at me today and they're like, were you really that awkward? I was awkward. I remember I was like 4 or 5 years old and my neighbors were trying to teach me how to catch a ball. And if that was on video, that video would go so fucking viral because I was awkward as hell. And they're throwing the ball to me and I'm going like this. It's literally like a little bit humiliating to talk about that I was so bad, but everything came hard to me. And because everything came hard to me, that I learned that I have to put in time and effort to be good at anything I want to. But then I learned a valuable lesson that through time and effort and focus, you become like good at anything you want to, good at anything you want to, like anything. And to me, that's amazing. Because then I decided I want to learn how to make money work for me, which led me to real estate and stocks. But then I focused mostly on real estate. And then it led me to crypto. And when I got started in crypto, like I did have a lot of background in investing, which helped some, but crypto was new and this technology sector was new, trying to understand it. But over time, with focus and energy, you can become good at everything. And with time, I started to pick up certain patterns. And with time, I realized trading in and out wasn't the way to go. That buying during a bear market, and I kind of knew this from real estate, buying when everything's low and holding till the cycle turns around, goes the other way, is the way to do it. And so I learned how exceptionally well that works over trading in and out of positions. And that's cool. Like with women, like you said, 20% of men have 80% of the results. It's true, but you can become good at those things. You become good at crypto investing with time, focus, and effort. And I say with women, Kelly, I know we have at least one female here. So it comes with dating too. So if you're a woman, dating can become good. And Kelly's a really smart, intelligent woman. So she probably, I don't know if she's married. She is in our Rainmaker group. We really haven't ever talked about that, but like the reverse is true for women, that they can put time, effort, and things, become really good at it. Money, like finance, you can become really good at it. So that was exciting to me, that you can become really good at this with time, focus, and effort over time, And it is that tenacity over time. And like you said, some people are like, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm, OMI, I get it. I'm going to hold it till the bull run. And it's like, oh my gosh, meme coins are running. Let me sell all my OMI and buy meme coins. It's like,
yeah,
okay, you do you. Hope that goes well for you.
I hope people recognize that. And again, it's kind of okay for some people, because memes are run, like they could be in solid projects and memes run and the other stuff doesn't run, and they're okay because multiple things aren't running. Hey, girl.
Somebody, yeah, she came in and brought me dinner. That's so sweet of her.
Yeah, what up, Rifle?
Most amazing. She made some homemade fries and made me a hamburger.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I've started eating better as well. My
I don't know if that's really that healthy. fries and hamburger, but it's homemade.
Yeah, homemade's so much better.
Yeah, she killed the cow in the backyard. I mean, not really.
I did kill it because it's definitely well done. So.
Thank you, baby.
Bye. There's where were we going with this? Oh yeah, so it's one thing when just one thing is running, like memes. But then you have, again, what's next? It could be NFTs, it could be AI. Let's say it's AI and it's not NFTs and OMI still stays down. And then it's DeFi, and then DeFi runs. AI has a 2 months where it runs, and then in late Q1, early Q2, then DeFi runs, and then after that, then DeSci runs, decentralized science. So NFTs might not run for the first half year. Then gaming, and then with gaming you'll get DeFi, but you might have certain things, or with gaming you'll probably get NFTs. But it's very possible that OMI doesn't run until like Q3. Now I happen to think it runs well before then, but who knows? So am I getting a little more here? Yeah, I'll get a little bit more before the end of the month. I'll probably reach 200 million. But it might not run till end of this year. Do you have any timelines on that? Do you have any inklings like, well, NFTs have kind of been part of the conversation at least, and at least this way we go in and we have we can read it. We could read into it from that.
I don't know when it runs. And what's funny is if you look at the charts in 2020 and 2021, the OMI token, it got savaged during the last bear market. And there was nothing going on. And then suddenly it went absolutely crazy. Maybe it'll play out like that again. Like it's showing like it's really trying hard to, I think the bottom is in. It's not completely confirmed, but likely the bottom is in, and that it's at least going the other direction, which is nice. But like, I don't know when it goes massively up. And one of the reasons I use diversification is because I don't have a magic crystal ball. I don't know what's going to run. And it's not like I have like unlimited patience either. I like that we only have to wait. Like every 4 years, crypto goes crazy. So if you're buying during a bear market, it's probably about 2 to 2.5 years later that the narrative that you're buying in probably most likely runs. So it might be that digital collectibles really take off in February or March, but I don't know. It might be that AI takes off in February and March. It might be that Deie really, really takes off. It looks like it wants to break up to the upside, but I don't know. We have a big announcement that I think it was Delta Plane saying, I'm hyped about the new tech partner covered by Fox News, etc. What's your bull bear case for Deie? So it could be with this big announcement they've been talking about that it really takes off. Sometimes on a big announcement, like it pulls back after the announcement because it's priced in already, the anticipation for it. So I don't know when things are going to run this year, but what I do like about diversification is part of the reason I was able to average 100x from the bottom was that I bought some things. Well, I bought across a number of different things. And when some ran up tremendously, I then sold and rolled into some other things that then went up tremendously, and it amplified my gains. So this time I'm diversified across a number of different projects, and I've already taken some profits. Like I'm buying some more OMI. I had something that was up 20x. I was like, you know what? I think it has a lot more potential to go than this. It's only up 20x, and I think maybe it goes up another 10 or 15x from here. But you know what? Why wouldn't I roll that money into OMI, which my guess is from here, OMI goes 30x or 40x or 50x or 100 or 200x. Then if I can capture 20x gains, roll it into this, and I've been holding on to that position for like 2 years. Okay, now it's up 20x. That's amazing. And put it into here, then I can take a further ride on that. Great. So buying more OMI. Crazy enough.
100%. I can't wait for that. I'm super excited. I know you just got food. We've been going for about 2.5 hours. We gotta end it here, and then we'll eat, and then we'll talk off camera for a minute as well.
Yeah. Really excited for 2025. I hope everyone gets the opportunity that's before you, and that you're taking smart, decisive actions during this time. And like a lot of people, they want to know what actions you can take. Unfortunately, I can't tell you specific action you can take. I try to share with people the patterns that I've seen in crypto and how to think like an investor. And I have some courses related to that. And if you're on my channel, the links to that are below. Do you have to take the courses? No, you can just watch all my videos over the past number of years, and I share it through the videos. The courses are much more condensed, better use of your time. If your time is really valuable, maybe that's a way for you to go. If you have tons and tons of time, but not much money, then just watch the YouTube videos where I just share kind of the experience, because I've been at this for 7 years. And prior to that, like 18 years investing before this, and understanding cycles and patterns, and share with you what I know, because what I love is the idea that you all become very savage, amazing investors, so that you're making fully informed decisions on your own, and you're just taking the odds into your own hands and playing those. And then over time you become really good. And eventually the world moves on from crypto. Like most of the world is using crypto. There will be some other thing. It might be investing in drones that mine asteroids. But because you're a savage investor, guess what? Those principles will also apply to which companies you're going to invest in there.
I think it's fun to follow interesting projects. Are they disruptive? What are they changing? How are they vertically integrated? And what partnerships do they have? And what's their market cap? What are their revenues like in comparison to that? And ask all those questions, and sometimes you might have to watch a Randy Chavez or Crypto Rain interview, to figure that out. Sometimes we have people interviews.
Yeah, the interviews are the best way to see from the projects. Like, watch the interviews with the teams, because then you get to learn firsthand. Like, part of the reason I created the YouTube channel was so that I could set up those interviews, because those were my favorite to watch when I was just an investor before I had a YouTube channel. But sometimes, like, the people I was watching, like, they didn't think that way, and they weren't trying to get on the interviews with the founders. And I wanted to have somebody ask the founders these questions. And so I figured if I started my own YouTube channel, I'd be able to have them on it. And I'd not only be able to ask them questions myself, the audience could ask them questions, so we can make better decisions.
Preach.
Cool. All right, guys. We'll see y'all later. Randy, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, of course. Bye-bye, Dashie.